Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
And then Keith broke it up there. Hey! How's it going?
They're gonna have to do
Honest to goodness, I know we have overtime every day.
Jay's crazy.
We should have pregame. Because
crazy.
some of the best conversations in this studio happen in the moments leading up to the show.
They are not safe for work
Stop
and
it.
usually unable to be shared with the general public.
Stop it. Stop it.
What happened? Hilarious. He do look.
Stop it now. Stop it. Tyvis.
You boys.
Tyvis, stop. Before I bring up that Jimmy Butler picture and let him go with his hair.
That ain't got nothing to do with me because I told you.
Jay has a nice guy reputation.
He
Don't
does.
ruin it for him.
He does. Jimmy Butler.
We need to blame that on somebody else.
It's a point where everything.
That was a wig, right?
Everything is funny.
I hope it was a wig.
Was that a
It
wig?
was not a wig, no.
It's real.
I
gotta
actually
cut
asked
this
the
out.
same thing. I said, this can't be real, but I kept seeing it in different phases, and I'm like, no, that's real.
He's wearing a bob.
Wait a second.
He's wearing a bob cut.
That was his real hair?
Yes, that's his new look.
He got the Dennis Rodman with a bob cut.
Nah, we're gonna check this.
Have you seen it?
Nah.
You didn't see it?
Call it up on Tag Board.
We'll get it up on
my
Tag
God.
Board,
Oh
just so
my
you
God,
know.
I thought it was a wig, or I
Every
thought somebody.
year.
At first glance, I
Yeah.
did, but the longer I looked at it, I'm like, no, you can see the part.
That boy-
It's real.
That boy flat off.
He has done
real.
this each of the last 4 media
Really?
days. He has he went with the super long dreadlocks last year. He went with the perm. This is his thing. He comes in with a different look.
But he's
every
not going to
media
rock
day.
that look in the season.
No.
Thank the Lord.
No, he ain't. But that.
I get. Yeah, now that I look at it now, I guess it does look real.
First of all,
bizarre.
Jay, my hair is thinning, so I can't.
You couldn't rock the
I
Jimmy.
can't. My hair won't even grow that long.
What are you going to do? At some point, the grown man with thinning hair comes to the.
Oh yeah.
To this,
You come to the crossroad. Yeah.
To shave or not to shave?
You either gonna pay for the surgery to get your hair
Which
put back
I don't
in,
think that
or
works.
you just pull the clippers out and you say, you know
Why
what?
won't you just shave your head?
Shave it.
Have you ever shaved your head?
When I was a kid, I used to wear bald heads.
Because I was going to ask. Some people can rock the ball
Well,
like
let's-
nobody's
I
business.
will be.
Let's face
Michael
it,
Jordan
my
was
30
born to be
I've
bald.
said this once, I'll say it a million times. Black guys look good with bald heads.
They can pull it off.
Generally,
They can pull it off.
99% of the time. White guys look awful with bald heads.
Mostly.
Well, Jay,
I don't know why that is.
Well, the reason being that I can shave it and won't really care is because 99.9% of the time, I wear a hat.
Yeah, that's true.
You got that sway going on. What's
Why
under
can't a
that
white guy
hat,
ever
Sway?
look good with a bald head?
Well, I think the big, bulky, like bodybuilder or
Yeah,
like
maybe.
bouncer types pull it
Stone
off.
Cold Steve Austin.
See, he pulls it off.
Is a bald-headed
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's true.
He pulls
It's
it off.
Very
But like,
rare, though.
if McNuggets came in blind,
Oh, my
bald,
God.
we,
It'd be so
we
bad.
would ask, how long do you have?
It was so bad.
How long do you have?
Yeah, it would be
Great work,
awful.
Director Steve.
How about Anthony with a bald head?
Oh my
That
God!
would be terrible, too.
To see me with a bald head, all you have to do is look at my father.
Is he completely bald?
He's completely bald. He
Wow.
has been since he was like 27.
Is he rocking it or no?
Well, my thing,
yeah, he's fine.
Well, my
Okay.
thing is, see, when I do mine, I don't know if I want to completely do it or do I want to do the Doc Rivers, had a shadow.
No, listen. What you need to do is, Tyvis, you
thinning.
could be good.
You see my
Do the TI, bro.
That's the shadow.
Yeah, get to the TI. That's a 0.5.
Yeah, 0.5. It's not even a 1.
Not even a 1 guard. 0.5.
Yeah, you could rock that and then go with the same growth on your face
Yes.
to make it look like it's intentional.
Nah. You gotta rock. You gotta bang the beard, and you just gotta.
I
Peel
got the
the
bald
top back.
spot right up here.
Yeah.
It's gotten a little bigger over the years, but I got pretty good hair coverage for 52.
You gonna
do.
rock the
Yeah,
cul-de-sac?
you really do.
If this ever gets too big, I'm just shaving it all off, even if I look bad. I'd
Bald
rather
bull.
I'd rather be shaved bald than be one of these dopey white guys with the hair around the
George Jefferson, the cul-de-sac.
Right. I'm never doing that.
The male
The
pattern
cul-de-sac.
bald is like
Never doing
like
that.
the
No.
reverse mohawk.
The
Yeah,
Uncle
right.
Phil.
Yeah, that doesn't work. All right, let's talk about the
Almost.
show.
Nah.
A lot going on today.
Yeah.
did we get the official announcement from the Guardians? Like, what's the holdup here?
There's going to be a press conference at 2, I believe, today.
Okay.
Where Francona is expected to officially announce his
Yeah,
retirement.
to finally confirm the worst kept secret in sports, which he
Yeah.
confirmed last Friday.
Yes.
Which they
Or
have
Thursday.
tweeted out, by the way. The Guardians have even tweeted last time with Skip.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Come on.
everybody knows what's up, but
Right.
he'll make his official goodbye comments, I guess, at 2 o'clock today, you said?
Yes.
All right.
I have the guy they should hire.
Good, because we're going to talk about that.
And the guy they will end up hiring, who I like also, but not as much as the guy they
All right,
should
I've got
hire.
a couple of names.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to go. We're going to kind of rate Tito in the pantheon of Guardians Indians managers. Is he
Yeah.
the greatest? I'm sure someone can pull out some sort of metric that can say yes, some metric that would say no. We'll just give our opinions. I can't say if he was better than Lou Boudreau. I never watched him manage. I have no idea. I know what they accomplished under Lou, but I don't know. I can compare him to Mike Hargrove because I watched him the same amount of time.
Yes.
Shawne Merriman's on the show. I thought that was a mistake when I got the rundown. I looked again. I said, no, that's really Shawne Merriman.
Yeah.
I think we had him a couple times on First Take and Cold Pizza. He was always a good guest, so I'm sure he'll be good. He's just going to share his insights on the NFL. Who better to talk about Myles Garrett as a one-time 17-sack guy who had a brief career as greats go, but when he was good, he was very good.
And he had the best sack dance of all time.
He did. Lights out.
Lights out.
Yeah, Lights Out was off the charts. It was
All-time
great.
nickname.
It was great. He got that nickname in high school, if I'm not mistaken, but it was perfect for him when he was with the Chargers.
And by the way, I must ask him about how does it feel to be in a Kanye West video, Knocks You Down, featuring Kerry Hilson in Neo. He was in that video.
Well, we'll ask him about that. We'll ask him
Mark
about that.
Gastineau had one of the best sack dances also.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to see Mark Gastineau today. He hasn't aged well. I know he's got some
Not a
health
surprise.
issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so pro football, their methodology of handing out the PFF grades. How do they do it? We talked about it on this show ad nauseum. We're finally going to get to the bottom of this, right, Mike? We've got someone in. He's going to tell us exactly
Sam
what they're
Monson.
there. Also, Trevor, did you see the Trevor Bauer video yesterday?
We certainly did.
It was the talk of most newsrooms. You talk about a swervy derv and throwing a curveball when you didn't see it coming. I think he's changed the narrative on most people's thinking, but did he change the narrative for everybody? We're going to play that video for you if you haven't seen it, and then give you our thoughts about that. But first, let's say our first hello of the day to Mikey McNuggets, who
What's
looks
up,
better
guys?
with hair. for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm still a little perturbed by the thought of myself, Anthony, and Earl being bald. So
Yeah.
we're gonna keep our hair going strong. We got a lot of topics. We're also gonna start with something that Kevin Stefanski said yesterday that piqued our interest because Coach doesn't usually say a lot. So when he does say something, we are quite attuned to it. Before we do that, though, I want to remind everybody that if you're looking for some fall swag, especially some comfortable, warm fall swag, Bird Dogs is the place to go. They're comfortable, they are casual, they are stylish, and they can be worn to work out with, or whether you're going out on the town. Perfect for any occasion. Check them out at birddogs.com.
Absolutely.
I was thinking this morning, because the news broke, or the tweet, the information from Kevin Stefanski came out towards the end of our show yesterday.
Yeah, we did discuss it yesterday.
We discussed it a little bit, but I thought a lot about this morning, and I said, this doesn't make any sense.
No.
What is happening
It doesn't.
here? Kevin Stefanski talks in cliches.
He never
He
gives
says
any nuggets.
nothing.
Ever.
Nothing. He gives you nothing. And then all of a sudden he says this. Deshaun Watson was medically cleared to play, and it was his call. Now, on the surface, it doesn't seem like he's being critical. I don't even want to say he's being critical because I don't know what sense that would make. But I don't understand. I can't figure out why Tyvis, because I know you thought the same thing.
Why he would
say this. Again, he's not Andy Reid. He's not Belichick. He's not one. Well, Belichick kind of says nothing but makes point every once in a while. Like, Stefanski literally gives you nothing in his press conferences. I don't understand why he said this.
Maybe the outside world has finally crept in his mind. Because, the last time he dealt with this situation, it was the Baker thing. And it was like, everybody was like, well, as the head coach, you're supposed to say, don't let him play, or if he's not good enough to play, you should be the one that says no.
Yeah. Right.
So I think for him, he want to be transparent with this one. I haven't gone through that, and he's like, listen, I left it up to our quarterback. And he said he didn't feel like he was good enough to go, and I respect that, so we didn't play him.
Mike, I've got a question for you, and I don't know if we can get it while the show is still on the air. I meant it. This is totally my bad. We played a clip of video yesterday when we were discussing this on the 5 o'clock show up on Channel 3 that our local photographer, or Channel 3 photographer, shot it. And it was the moment the conversation was had and Deshaun Watson told the brass, Stefanski and Andrew Berry, I'm not going to go.
Was it in the stadium?
It was in the stadium.
Yeah, can't play it.
Okay. Again, I thought we had a free press in the United States of America. No.
That gets to his heart. He don't like that. Like,
I'm being dead serious. I'm being dead serious about this.
I don't like that, man.
Anybody that thought we had a free press, that's a lie. We do not. This is something that happened in, by the way, a publicly funded stadium.
Fact.
It's not private property.
Yeah.
This is a public. I don't want to go too far down that road, but we can't show the video because there's restrictions on it. It wasn't game action. It was something our local news photographer shot, but we can't show it. Ridiculous. Yeah. However, let me paint the picture for you. It was Berry, Stefanski, Deshaun Watson. Something was said. Our camera was probably 30 feet away. We couldn't tell what was said. Stefanski and Berry, as soon as the news was delivered, turned and left this group immediately.
When was this?
This was before the game, when the decision was being made.
Yeah. 10:15 in the morning is right around when this discussion.
Yes.
There's video. You can find it on Twitter. We can't show it because dumb reasons, restrictions. Yeah. But you could go. You can find the video, and there's at least an aerial view. It's about 10:15 in the morning, right after Deshaun had warmed up and tried throwing a few passes. He went over and had the conversation that he's alluding to.
Now you've seen the video, Mike. Have you seen the Channel 3 angle?
I've not seen the Channel 3 angle, no.
Okay. I was going to say, jump in and correct me if my characterization of the conversation is off.
I can find it and watch it for you, though.
Do that.
Give me one
Do
second.
that. And I'm sorry we can't share it with our audience. Really sorry about that. We have restrictions as a press and as a media. And I'm sorry about that, too, because we're not supposed to, but we clearly do. However, when the news was delivered, Stefanski turned and left in a hurry. I would say in a huff. I hope I'm not mischaracterizing it. I would like for the viewers to make their own decisions, but they can't.
So your impression of it was that he was annoyed?
My impression of it, if I didn't know what was said, where did you find that? Is that from Shawne?
I don't know.
Shawne Dunnigan?
I just seen, yeah.
Okay, he's the Channel 3 photographer that shot it. Watch it and tell me if my characterization of it is wrong. As the news is being delivered, after the conversation and whatever it was that Deshaun said, I'm presuming he said, I just don't feel it today. I can't go. At some point, Stefanski and Berry turn from the group and quickly walk away. Stefanski walks ahead of Berry.
Yeah.
And Berry says something to Stefanski, who stops and turns around and waits for Berry. Yeah. And then the two have a conversation.
Yeah.
Am I mischaracterizing anything in that video?
Yeah, I mean, he does tap him on Watson on the shoulder. Oh, sorry, Tom.
Yes.
He taps him on the shoulder. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. I can't definitively say from the video that he's mad. Or certainly mad at Watson.
I wouldn't even say mad.
He's probably frustrated with the whole situation.
That's where I'm going.
Not necessarily blaming anybody.
That's where I'm going. I don't think he's blaming anyone. It is what it is. Look, you left it up to the player once before.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get into what I think the biggest difference is between the Baker situation and the Deshaun Watson situation, but I'll give you a hint. There's 230 million differences between the two. Baker was playing for a contract.
Yeah.
Deshaun doesn't need to impress anybody. That jack is guaranteed.
That's a fact.
I'll tell you this. You mentioned Baker Mayfield. This is a great segue.
And I'm not suggesting that he could have gone and didn't. I'm not.
Well, here's the segue. I like to see your energy level when things happen, right? So when he came out and said Deshaun was cleared to play, I wanted to go back into annals of time and figure out, do I see a point in time where he said somebody was cleared to play and he was obviously angry and that was his rebuttal? So I go through all the press conferences and I did find someone, and this is on WKYC, and we can actually read this.
Are you sure?
When Baker was playing through injury that year, every week he would say he's been cleared by the medical.
Yes,
so
he did.
Every week.
Every week.
Stefanski,
which, by the way, Watson was too.
Yes.
Stefanski was asked, did he have any regrets about continuing to play as starting quarterback through a torn labrum in the left shoulder that he was suffered in week 2 of the year. Mayfield ultimately missed one start due to injury. After that, he re-aggravated in week 6 loss to the Cardinals. Despite his struggles, Stefanski refused to deal in hindsight. Baker fought through those injuries and was medically cleared to play in each of those weeks and practice throughout those weeks and felt good, Stefanski said. I don't think Baker's using it as an excuse. Now, when somebody says, hey, do you regret playing that guy when he was injured? He says, he was cleared to play, dog. Like, that ain't on me. So when you tell me, when I watch him walk away like that walk away was, damn, I didn't even get DTR. None of the, he gonna have to run with this playbook. What am I gonna do?
Well, they said DTR was with the ones all weekend.
On Friday, he didn't take any of the handoff reps.
No hand.
The handoff.
No handoff.
That's kind of critical when you're the backup quarterback and you're going to be the starter on Sunday, and you haven't worked with your running backs in the exchange.
But he did throw.
He took all the throwing reps. Why would you give all the handoff reps to Watson?
I have no.
He's good on that.
But I think the conversation, I think we moved past that part of the conversation. The conversation is, why did Kevin Stefanski say what he said?
Because he was mad.
I think he was.
Okay.
I think you're right. I even think that in his mind, he probably is flashing back to Baker, who was medically cleared and clearly needed surgery, but soldiered on. Now, it was to the detriment of the team. And quite frankly, I'm surprised. This is why I'm most surprised Kevin Stefanski did what he did. By them letting the player drive the bus with Baker, they all went off the cliff.
But who
and
else?
They were in the same spot this time around.
Yeah.
And they put it in the player's hands. And Baker had a left shoulder injury. Deshaun's was his right shoulder. He's the only guy that knows if he can do this.
Right. So how could you not put it on the player? The player's the only one who knows if he can play.
I understand that, but you don't have to pull back that curtain to the media. And to the fans.
But you said he made a mistake letting Baker play. Everybody said that.
In hindsight, it was a mistake because the player drove the bus off the cliff. They didn't know at the time he was going to do that. They said even with an injured left shoulder, he gives us the best chance to win. What I'm saying is, and I'm not doing a good job of it, so let me try to start over. I believe that the most shocking thing to me is that Stefanski said something that put a player in a bad light for deciding not to play, especially when this franchise was taken to a crossroads 3 years ago for the exact same thing.
Right.
Why did he not protect Deshaun Watson?
All he had to say was it was a team decision.
That's it. That's it.
I think when you say what he said, it makes people think, oh, I guess he could have played. And I think before Stefanski made those comments, most fans would have been like, well, I guess he couldn't play.
But we left here Friday. We said he's not playing.
No.
He didn't throw the football at all.
But when Stefanski says he's been cleared, and I think he also said it has nothing to do with pain.
Yes, he also said that.
Then what was it?
Well, I mean, he used a couple of weird words that I wasn't quite sure of. One of them, to me, and I wish I had the transcript in front of me, or we could play the soundbite. But to me, it sounded almost. The word he used made me think that it was more emotional with Deshaun Watson.
Well, but maybe so. But what I don't understand, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, who says nothing to the media and says something here that we are all kind of reading as if he's throwing Watson under the bus, what is the benefit to Stefanski for throwing Watson under the bus?
I mean, maybe to put himself in a better light.
That's the easiest question you know in the world.
But it's not going to.
Well, no, and not only that, here's my fear. You're right, it is the easiest question. He's trying to say, wasn't my fault. I mean, but Bull,
he's
the
not
problem
getting a
is,
pass for that.
The problem is, for me, this is a smart guy. This is a guy who thinks everything through.
Yeah.
Did he not think through what kind of collateral damage could now take place in the relationship, the most important relationship for any NFL team between coach and quarterback? Because if I'm Deshaun Watson and I hear that, I step back and say, "Well, thank you, Coach."
Well, Watson has seemingly been one of his biggest supporters.
I've thought they had a great relationship.
Listen,
the way this sounds.
You don't think this?
Somebody go.
Is there any chance?
Somebody leave.
Is there any chance that Watson does not take it this way?
Yeah, it's a chance.
Wait, he has rabbit ears and thin skin, and you think he's going to be good with this?
Is it a chance? Yeah, about that.
Okay, how about this phrasing? What's the most likely reaction from Deshaun Watson on Kevin Stefanski's comments?
For real?
What type?
Yeah. What's the most likely?
That's the.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
For real?
I thought you were asking that to me.
Yeah, for real.
No. That's not what he gonna say. He gonna look at it and go, "That's what we doing."
Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's the same reaction. It's got to be one of, you're looking at him side-eyed going, Coach,
That's what
we're supposed to be in this together.
So, and as a coach, you take all the bullets, right?
Always.
He's been doing it for years.
Not this time.
And guess when you come out, and if he wanted to have the best comment, he said, listen, hey, my job is to protect Deshaun Watson and his career. My job is to make the best decision for the team. It was my decision.
Not even that, because that's a lie. It was an organizational decision for Deshaun not to play.
That's a lie, too.
No.
What's the difference? The coaches lie all the time. Who cares?
I know, but
Either or.
Take
one.
I don't expect him to fall on that sword, because that's not the truth. I don't expect him to say, it was all me. Deshaun came to me and said, Coach, put me in. I'm ready to play. And I said, sit your ass on the bench. That's not what happened.
Okay,
you can just parse it by saying it was an organizational decision. We lost the game, and we're moving on to San Francisco.
The thing about this is, whether he played or not, would it have made a difference?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
I'm not going to give Stefanski that either.
No.
I'm not about to give him that. See,
he hasn't practiced with him all week. He's just going to go out there and just complete.
I would have taken Deshaun Watson over DTR.
I am not giving him fixed in excuses for certain things. He did not have his backup quarterback ready to play. They say it every week. Everybody has to be ready to play, don't they?
Yes. Next man up.
Next man up.
It's football is injuries all the time.
According to DTR, he said he prepares himself.
What is he going to? He said the right thing because he still wants a job.
He's the backup quarterback. What is he going to say?
So
the organization did me wrong.
Wait a minute. If we on the organization where the head man is out there telling the truth, why wish y'all dog tell the truth?
Listen, when keeping it real goes 100% wrong, you better shut up and say, hey, listen, I was prepared. They did everything they needed to do. I just played back.
You're a fifth-round backup quarterback.
Well,
he knows his role.
He knows his. Hey, listen, I'm trying to get the back. He looking at himself like the backup quarterback ain't even supposed to be getting these shots.
I think the bottom line for me on this is I'm trying to think of another reason why Stefanski would say this. I can't. There may be, but I can't think of it. And I just can't help but think that if I'm Deshaun Watson and I hear those comments, I'm like, he's making me look like a wimp.
Deshaun will speak when? I mean, because it's not a game schedule. It's not a game week. Well, he moved it to Thursday last week, didn't he?
I don't think he
talked last week. No, the 2 weeks before that.
He talked Wednesday last week, Thursday the week before. It's a bye week, so it's a weird media schedule. But as soon as we know when he's scheduled to talk, I'll make sure.
I have the media schedule in my email. I'll have to look and see. But I'm very curious to see what Deshaun Watson says when the gaggle of reporters run up to him and say, what do you think of Coach's comments? Because that'll be the first thing out of their mouth.
It's a marriage, Tyvis.
I need to know medically clear. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can do all of that. I can move my shoulder and all. But if I can't throw it 15 yards, I'm medically clear. But I ain't gonna help this team.
Well, you'd have to. You would want to think that the medical staff would be in line with what the quarterback is feeling. He's the only one that knows what it feels like.
I can do all of this and I got all my function, but if my arm
Tyvis, you go out to dinner, right? It's you and a couple friends, and it's you and your wife. They say, hey, we haven't seen, so glad, Tyvis, we haven't seen you in a while. How are things going with you? And the first thing that your wife says is, we cool. I'm cool, but Tyvis ain't been cool. What? Yeah. Like it's just, hold on now.
I would say, don't speak for me.
Now, guess what? Now this is the opportunity. You never fight in public with your spouse.
Yeah, that's putting dirty laundry out.
Because we can talk about this when we get to the house. Mind you, Tyvis.
And we will talk about it when we get to the house.
Now, don't you do that to me. Don't you do that. Now, here's the thing. When you're looking at a head coach and a quarterback, That's a marriage.
Yeah.
It
You
is a
don't
marriage.
say because he's the extension of you.
Yeah.
You call the play, you expect him to see it and throw it. There is no way you can say none of that.
This is a
On
bad
that
job by
vein,
Stefanski.
let me ask you guys a question that's sort of related because we're talking about the quarterback-coach relationship. Brian Daboll yesterday,
Oh my God!
after an inexplicable pick six
he said,
by Daniel
"Don't throw a
Jones,
pick." That's what he said.
undressed his quarterback
done.
in what some would say was an excessive way.
Yeah.
Because not only did he meet him at the sidelines and walk with him over to the bench and look at him like, what kind of idiot are you?
You don't do that.
He went over to the bench, had the pad in his hand, looked at it, showed it to his quarterback, and then threw it. Now,
Well, you also had Trent Dilfer this week. Did you see him?
No, what did Trent do?
wow.
Well, he's a
My
high
God.
school coach, isn't he?
No, he's a college
college now?
UAB.
He's going off on an assistant coach on the sideline. If I was that assistant coach, I would have punched him.
Well,
in the
he
face.
did that when he was in high school,
He's
too.
an
And what's
idiot.
odd is I know Trent personally, knew him in Tampa Bay, knew him when we worked together at ESPN. Nicest, most kind person you'll ever meet.
When you get between them
Well,
lines.
so you get on that
religious,
line.
but man, I don't recognize that guy,
get
and
in
I don't think
between
that's
them
cool.
lines.
So, like the Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll thing, for me, there's some things that you can come back from, but I just don't know. I don't know how it goes.
And notice when
He
you
didn't already finger gun him. He got
Last year,
paid.
last year, Dable was a genius. Now he's an idiot.
and you
Yeah, it's funny what Josh Allen will do.
and by the way, the big time quarterbacks
Well, no,
like
but he was a genius with the Giants.
the,
last year. They made the
the
playoffs.
huge
Yeah.
quarterbacks
He
like
fixed-
the Mannings
he fixed
or
it.
the Bradys, usually they're undressing the offensive coordinator.
Yes.
And everybody moves away like
Sure.
And the offensive coordinator just says, "All right, whatever you talk
gotta
about,
go
Tom.
see this
Tom's going
Trent
crazy."
Yep, yep.
You see the opposite now. Like you see where
What are you
Daniel-
looking up, Ty?
I gotta see the Trent Dilfer one, man.
I haven't seen that
Oh,
one.
no. He went off on multiple coaches.
I got it. Wait, let me see Brian Daboll first because I didn't see that.
Well, Daboll went off on Jones, and
wish we could show you guys.
I do too. But again,
Yeah.
Here,
apparently,
is this
kind of
it?
live in some sort of China bubble
Is that
where we
it?
can't share
Sure
things
is.
with you with the media. And we apologize about that.
he said he
Anyway.
knows who he gets the surface.
This is the worst TV.
Watch
in
him
the
throw
world.
the
This,
surface.
this
though.
is terrible.
Yeah, this is the worst TV.
Can
in
we
the world.
move on to Bauer, Mike?
Yeah, it is. Let me do a fast
Yeah.
read real quick, and then we'll get into the next thing.
But
Regardless of how the Browns do, they're off this week, so there is no 2-minute warning show. But you know the UCSS crew is live with you at the 2-minute warning every week when the Browns play. And also, if you need Browns gear for the upcoming season, head over to fanatics.com/UCSS for all your swaggy Browns gear. We got a 2-minute post-game show off this week for the bye week, back for the next 13 games. And then if you need some clothes, check out fanatics.com/UCSS.
All right, on to I think we can share this because Trevor Bauer shared it on Twitter. So we are
And it's
allowed
not
to
on
share it.
MLB grounds. It's
Yeah.
not on NFL. It's in his house.
Take that.
There's no highlights. It's about the only video we can show you guys.
Take
But it is
that.
from Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, for those
You
who
gotta
don't
set it
know
up,
the
though. You
situation,
set it up.
Trevor Bauer, a couple of years ago when he was with the Dodgers, was accused by a woman in San Diego of choking her out and physically abusing her during a sexual liaison. Trevor Bauer, for his part, said that the liaison was completely consensual and actually provided a text exchange in which the discussion was had about him choking her during sex.
Now we don't
Don't
know
get
that.
it?
We don't know that for sure that it's.
No, that was evidence that he provided to Major League Baseball in the arbitration hearing. He provided his text messages between he and her. What we didn't know until yesterday.
Yeah, but I don't know that that's proof. I mean, how do we know it's her at the other end of the tape?
Well, listen, I'm sure MLB investigators did all of their due diligence.
Right.
To your point, I don't.
well, but they did,
But-
and they still suspended him. So
Well, they suspended him, but if you remember, as soon
Yeah.
as the arbitration hearing was off, they lifted the suspension.
they did
Because they realized, in legal terms, oops,
he has
we made a mistake.
He has video evidence too.
So now
has
he
video,
does.
too.
So I don't want to get too
I
far
don't-
off the beaten
yeah,
path.
okay, go ahead. Let's-
And there's another woman. There's another woman who's alleging very similar
well,
activities.
there's 4 accusations, and there were 2 lawsuits. Now it's down to 1.
Yes, and no charges. The San Diego police, the LA prosecutor's office and the police department looked into the allegations. There was absolutely no proof of any wrongdoing. In fact, the woman in San Diego asked for a restraining order, and the judge denied her request. Now, and he makes this point in the video, that's almost never done. If there's even a hint that there was anything going on, the judge always errs on the side of restraining order. They didn't issue that. Trevor Bauer then was banished to Japan. He pitched in Japan last year where he had a solid year, finished 11-4, ERA around 2.75, I think.
2.96. Just
2.96,
just sub 3.
below
But
3.
sub 3.
But a good season by any metrics. And now he's finally, the lawsuits have both been dropped. He dropped his against her. She dropped his against him.
He does still have another lawsuit pending.
There is another lawsuit pending,
Yeah.
which he is asked to be dismissed. It hasn't been ruled on yet. This is the video that Trevor Bauer dropped yesterday, and I think at one point it was it was in the millions of views.
4.2.
Yeah.
Okay. So watch this video. It's about 2 minutes, I think, and then we'll have a discussion on the backside.
Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. A text Lindsey Hill sent to a friend before she ever even met me. What should I steal? She asked another, in reference to visiting my house for the first time. The answer? Take his money. So how might that work? I'm going to his house Wednesday, she said. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Then, after the first time we met, net worth is 51 mil, she said. Bitch, you better secure the bag, was the response. But how is she going to do that? Need daddy to choke me out, she said. Being an absolute whore to try to get in on his 51 million, read another text. Then, after the second time we met, former Padres pitcher Jacob Nix told her, you got to get this bag. I'll give you 50,000, Lindsey replied. Her AA sponsor asked her at one point, do you feel a tiny bit guilty? Not really, she replied. Since then, her legal team has approached me multiple times about coming to a financial settlement. But, as I have done since day one, I refuse to pay her even a single cent. In August of 2021, Lindsey Hill's claims were heard in court. And during those legal proceedings, critical information was deliberately and unlawfully concealed from me and my legal team. Information like this video, which was taken by Lindsey Hill herself the morning after she claimed she was brutally attacked, emotionally traumatized, and desperate to get away from me. And now we have the metadata, so there can be no dispute. It was taken mere minutes before she left my house on the morning of May 16th, 2021, without my knowledge or consent, of course. In it, you can see her lying in bed next to me while I'm sleeping, smirking at the camera without a care in the world, or any marks on her face. I think it paints a pretty clear picture of what actually happened the evening of May 15th and why the video was originally concealed from us. Yeah. After hearing the evidence available to her, Judge Diana Gold-Saltman found that Lindsey Hill had misled the court. She found her claims to be materially misleading. She denied her request for a domestic violence restraining order, and she found that no sexual assault or non-consensual conduct took place. Now, some of you might not know about restraining order hearings. I know I didn't, but I've since learned that it's extremely rare for a request for a restraining order to be denied because the standard of proof that you need to obtain one is extremely low. So you can make of that what you will. The fact is, I was never arrested. I was never charged with a crime, and I won the only legal proceeding that took place without my side of the story even being heard. And most importantly, as I've said from day one, I never sexually assaulted Lindsey Hill, or anyone else for that matter. So I sued her, which prompted her to countersue me. Quite frankly, regardless of the outcome in court, I've paid significantly more in legal fees than Lindsey Hill could ever pay me in her entire life. And I knew that would be the case going in. But the lawsuit was never about the money for me. It was the only way for me to obtain critical information to clear my name. The discovery process in that lawsuit recently concluded, at which point Lindsey Hill's legal team again came to us with another proposal to resolve the case. This time, however, they weren't seeking any money from me. Having received much of the information that had been hidden from us, a small portion of which I've referenced here, I was willing to agree to the terms proposed. Both parties would drop their respective lawsuits, and neither of us would pay either side any money. I also retained my right to speak publicly about the case, something I have not been at liberty to do since June of 2021. So, as of today, both lawsuits have been settled. Now, over the last 2 years, I've been forced to defend my integrity and my reputation in a very public setting. But hopefully this is the last time I have to do so, as I'd prefer to just remain focused on doing my job, winning baseball games and entertaining fans around the world. So today, I'm happy to be moving on with my life. Next.
Wow, thoughts?
I mean, if everything he's saying is true, then I think there should be. Now, again, I don't know that everything he's saying is true.
No, but we'll operate under the assumption that he is, because In all likelihood, and I don't either.
Well, that's what we said about all the accusations initially. In all likelihood, most accusations are true.
Well, I never said that.
I don't believe that.
No, I never said that.
We ain't never
I
said
don't believe
Yeah,
that.
no,
most
I never
accusations
said-
are
Never
true.
said that.
Well, that is true. Most people that accuse somebody of domestic violence, it happens. There are facts.
Here's the danger that we, and we've heard this,
Yeah.
and a part of this was on the backside of the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
All women must be believed.
Yep,
All women must be believed.
I hate
that was a
phrase.
mantra.
They was printing that.
And listen, I'm not here to bash a woman or to support a man or vice versa. What I'm saying is, when there is money involved and there is potential gain of finances, people do some crazy things. Yeah. And you've been around the professional circuit, and I'm not going to go into details here, but you know that there is a bit of a cottage industry of women who are targeting professional athletes for financial gain. Yes. Am I wrong?
That is a fact.
I've spoken to many. You're friends with many.
Yeah.
The stories
That's a fact.
are abhorrent, and it taught me at a very early age, because my inclination, Bull, was where you were. I believe women. I'm sorry, I do.
Well, I don't always believe.
Right, and I think
but
that
the reality in the grand scheme of the world is that most accusations are true.
we don't know that. We don't
Yes,
know
we
what
do.
percentage of them are
stats
true.
Will tell you that the police data states that has said that most people that accuse anybody, not athletes necessarily, all people, that by and large it's true.
So here's the problem with that, with the generalization statement.
Yeah.
And I believe that nobody was malicious when they said all women must be believed. It was a product of the times we were living in. This was on the edge of the Me Too movement, and there was a stretch when all a woman had to do is make an accusation, and it stuck.
Well,
and the danger in that is for your comment to be applied here, all accusers are right, and that can't be said. I mean, we clearly know there have been women that have come out and admitted afterwards, I made a mistake.
And there's also been a lot of men who have gotten away with
1,000%.
that too.
But I think what happened in this case was, and Trevor Bauer has some different ways. Interesting human being. Not someone I would be friends with. Things that I have heard put me in line to believe some of the things that were being said about him. But the danger in doing that, and the media should have known better, because we went down this road with Duke Lacrosse. They were tried, convicted, hung at the stake, and then all of a sudden the accuser came out and said, I made it up.
My bad.
And what happens is reputations are smeared and lives are ruined.
Yep.
And in this case, now that we have more information, and again, we do have to operate on the assumption that this evidence he shows is true.
He didn't show. Did he show evidence?
He showed screenshots.
I mean, we don't. You don't know for sure that's real.
We don't. But
here's what he's
someone
saying.
has vetted that.
Hold on.
A court vetted it.
A court looked at it.
Yes,
you know
they
that?
did. Yes, they did.
He just said he threw it out.
Well, just because he said the court vetted it doesn't mean
the evidence that was allowed to be heard in the original case where they were trying to get a restraining order, he provided. Now, he didn't provide the text message that they got through discovery in the lawsuit. The mistake she made was she filed a suit against him.
And
once that happened, now discovery is at issue. Now they got her phone.
The bottom line of the conversation is yes, and you're right. We shouldn't always jump to conclusion when a player is accused. Now, he still has another lawsuit. We'll see what happens with that.
He does.
It does appear in this particular case that he was railroaded. I still don't think we know that with 100% certainty, but it does appear that way.
But here's my thing. This is the thing.
Yeah.
All we know is the allegation from her. He has come out and put out all this information, and the only thing we know from her is the allegation. Why is the mountain on him to prove his innocence when all she said was a word? Now I got to go look through he got timestamps, metadata, videos.
Well,
and
he says
I just saw the video of him laying next to her.
You didn't see the metadata. You didn't see.
No, we saw the video. That's metadata. But that's video that they were discovered from her phone in discovery. Yeah. And when they saw that video, they immediately said, Well, where are the bruises? They never had physical contact after that video. She
Right.
got up out of bed after taking that video and left the room
Right.
and immediately filed her motions. So they
Right.
never physically came into contact. So what we know
So
for
what's-
sure
yeah.
is her claims that she was physically beaten in the face.
That was a lie.
We know that's not true because I don't know how that could have happened with leaving no bruises. She didn't appear to be abused. She
No.
was smiling. She was surreptitiously videotaping him while he was sleeping in his own bed.
And guess what? The system is messed up, and I'm mad at this a little bit too. You lucky he had money. He had enough money
Sure.
to defend himself, to actually go in there and say, you know what? I'll defend my name and go through all these court cases. And the smile she had on her face was, you know what? Society, you guys are fools. Because I could get away with this, and the only thing that happened to her, guess what? We'll just drop the cases. Do you know people?
She actually got $300,000 in some sort of settlement.
Yeah, not from
Insurance,
him.
Not from him. But
yeah, I don't know what. You know what?
Listen.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
Did she actually take out an insurance policy?
I don't know what.
In the event she was ever abused by a
what's
pro
happened
athlete?
is, and this happens too often this happens in sports all the time, right? We have a coach that's soft-spoken and calm. Next, we want a coach that's all the way to the extreme the other way.
Right.
So for most of the history of the United States, women were taken advantage of,
Absolutely
crapped
true.
on,
Yes.
abused, and nothing was ever done about it.
Right.
And finally, the Me Too movement, I'm not going to say ended that, because
No.
of course it didn't.
It put a spotlight on that kind of behavior.
It put a spotlight on it, and it gave women a voice, and it made them stronger together.
Right.
And in general, in most cases, that's a good thing. However, as is always the case with everything else, it's taken to the extreme the other way.
Correct.
To the point where you can never say an accuser sounds fishy. You can't. There's no. I remember Matt Damon once was being interviewed once. And he said, oh, well, touching somebody's cheek is not as bad as raping someone. And people were like furious with him for saying that.
Sure.
And I'm like, there's levels to this thing.
There are levels to
Touching
it.
a woman's cheek, while it may be inappropriate, is not the same thing as raping
All
someone.
depends on what cheek you're talking about.
I'm trying to figure that part out.
I said, is it this year? But
one is inappropriate, one is criminal.
but when you accuse, you got to understand something. When you accuse somebody of rape, people can die behind that.
Yeah.
Like if
Sure, and she should be.
No. He can go to jail, and when you get to jail, there's two things they don't play with: rape and child molestation. Now, here's my thing: you can't Trevor Bauer. It don't matter what he say now. He is always going to be known as a person who allegedly raped somebody. It doesn't go away, and I don't understand how it's okay for you to say that, walk away, and then nothing happened. They need to start putting people in jail. If it is found out that you are lying about something that serious, you're going to jail. And they need to put that out so every other people look around and say, if you want the money that bad, are you willing to risk your freedom for it? If you want to set somebody up, because it's out of hand. You don't get a free pass from that. I even tell myself, don't never, as a black man, claim somebody is racist if you know it ain't true. Because they got to wear that scarlet letter. They got to wear it. Don't be saying that stuff because that'll ruin somebody's career in life because you insecure and emotional. Don't do that. There's certain things you can't play with, and I need them to make an example in these courts that you don't play with that type of stuff.
I agree. If it is proven that there's a fault. Now, what we don't want to do is get to the point where now women are once again scared to make an accusation when it's real.
But Bull, that's a great point. Right. But when someone does this,
right,
to that level,
they should be.
It breaks the system because for the people that actually are abused, that don't know what really happened between her and Trevor Bauer, they may look at this and say, well, there's another victim that wasn't listened to and believed, even though she wasn't a victim.
And if it can be,
and that might keep them from coming forward.
And if it can be proven in court that she lied just to get money out of him, then I 100% think she should go to jail. No doubt about it.
I think that's
something like that happened with the punk god, right? Wasn't the punk god?
Oh, his career. Where is he?
Done.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Yeah, he is.
His nickname was the Punt God. He has been exonerated.
Wasn't even there.
There was video evidence that proved he wasn't there when she said this happened. Yet, where is he? Did anybody pick him up?
Somebody,
Still a free agent.
Guess what's going to happen to Trevor Bauer next year? Who's going to be the team to step up and sign him?
Am I thinking like this too?
Nobody.
Because it's such a big PR thing.
Sure
Well,
it is.
what I would say about Bauer, though, is because he still has another case pending, I don't think
No,
It's with anybody.
Yeah,
really.
all I know is about this case. I don't know about the other case. He'll have to go get that adjudicated.
Yeah.
My thing, y'all work for outlets all the time, and I
This was the one he was punished for. This one.
because of
Major League Baseball looked into this one, and they erred, and they kept him from being able to do his job. In the United States of America, a man was accused of doing something that he's now proven didn't happen, but for it, he not only lost his job and upwards of $30 million, he's likely lost any future earnings that he might have had. He had a $100 million contract voided.
Think about it. He can't be an analyst.
No, he's pariah.
He can't.
Even though he didn't do anything, he's a pariah.
It's over.
he wasn't going to be able to do any of that stuff anyway. But he did. It did.
He was able to pitch for $100 million.
Hey, listen. In the end, it's a messed up situation.
I think that the cautionary tale is, and I preach this to young journalists, sometimes there is evidence that is put forth that make us look at it and say, oh,
that looked crazy.
Well, I know what happened there. Now, I also think, too, I got a text from a friend yesterday that said, I guess it wasn't true. I still want it to be true. Now, this person is not in media, so I don't expect that person to use the bar that we use.
Yeah.
The bar we use has to be far, far more discriminate. But there was an error, an aura around Trevor Bauer.
Yeah.
The dating rules that he put out. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Any man that loves women, mom, wife, girlfriend, daughters, that read that wanted to vomit. I felt like I needed to take a shower.
He's still disgusting.
He
bullies people online.
Here's what he is.
Yeah.
He might be creepy.
He's a bully.
He might be a bully.
Yeah.
He might be disgusting.
Yeah.
And he might be misogynistic. I don't know that, you can make a case for all of those things.
Yeah.
However, what he's not is a rapist. And he has to wear that hat the rest of his life now. And that's where we have to be very careful. And I thought that the Duke lacrosse case was going to be the epicenter of when the media started to be careful and not run loose with facts and what they wanted the truth to be. Sometimes the media runs with the narrative of what they want and not what is true. And in the prosecution of the district attorney from Durham,
And he went to jail.
he went to jail for what he did because what he did was criminal. He, like her attorney, hid evidence
That's crazy.
that would have exonerated the defendants. And the lawyer, one of the lines the lawyer used in the defamation case, which they won, again, when he was representing the Duke lacrosse players, he used this line. And by the way, this was in the early throes of Google and the internet. But he read the 14 names or whatever they were. And this was very powerful. After it, he said, for the rest of their lives, when you Google these names, it's coming up that they were involved in the Duke lacrosse case, the Duke lacrosse rape case, which never happened. And that's a pretty powerful statement that I'm sure Trevor Bauer's attorney is going to make when they file suit against Major League Baseball and the Dodgers.
No, they weren't famous, those people, before.
They were infamous. That's even worse.
I don't remember any of their names. Do you?
No, but when you Google, if you found a list of their names and you Google any of them, what's going to come up?
Right, but they could move on.
And
with
a
their
footnote to what
but
it was
could
and they were
at least
clear.
those guys could move on with their lives easier than Bauer. He can't.
I would like to know, and maybe it'd be a great 30 for 30. But they will never do it because I worked at ESPN, and at the time I was embarrassed to work for ESPN because they were running with those facts and they did not care about what the truth was. They thought they knew the truth, and that was really hard for me to watch.
The media could do a solid. If you ran a story and you had an opinion about Trevor Bauer, I think it's only right that you run a story and say, you know what, we ran this story 2 years ago
and we were wrong.
Here's the reaction to the other side, because I think that's part of being fair press and call them balls and strikes.
It's ethics in journalism that used to exist. Retractions, corrections. Those don't happen anymore. You know what they do now?
Double down.
They pull the story off the internet.
Double down.
No, they just pull the story off the internet as if
it never happened.
It never happened.
We're gonna scrub you from the records. They used to do that in Rome. We'll strike you from the records, Titus.
It's just a cautionary tale. And I think it was worth the discussion because it ties to Cleveland. And it's particularly the way it's played out. Maybe, you know what? 3 weeks from now, he might be found guilty, and evidence may come forward that he's a total creep and a criminal. And in that case, we'll revisit it.
Yeah.
But for now, that's what we know. You want to do Tito here, or do you want to go right to the Browns?
No, we got Tito real quick. Before we do Tito, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, Behind the Glass, myself, Anthony, and Earl will be having some fun. We haven't quite figured out what we're going to talk about tomorrow night because there's not a Browns game coming up, but we're definitely going to do something a little more entertaining than typical. It will be less analytics, more let's just have some fun, shoot the you-know-what, and enjoy the company of ourselves, the others, and answer as many fan questions as humanly possible. So tomorrow night at some time, probably 7 o'clock, we'll be doing another edition of Behind the Glass. And we're talking baseball, Jay, so let's continue the baseball conversation.
Okay.
Terry Francona later today, as you guys alluded to earlier, will officially announce his retirement. The worst-kept secret will be no longer a secret. And in talks with Bull yesterday, he came up with a few names that he thinks would be
I'm curious to
the
hear these
perfect
names.
replacement for Terry.
Yeah, I am too.
You said you had someone you think's going to get it and someone that you hope gets it.
Yeah, so let's start with the guy that is the home run hire, but probably won't end up here, Mike. And that's, I'll put it up, or you want me to say it first?
You can say it. We got it.
So Craig Counsell, to me, he's the home run hire. The guy's not that far out of the game. Wow. He's been a manager with the Brewers for almost a decade. He's done a fantastic job there. Let's face it, the Brewers were a nothing franchise for years before Craig Counsell took over. They're consistently in the pennant race. They're consistently in the playoffs. Now, they haven't won in the highest level, obviously, but with a mid-tier payroll, certainly higher than the Guardians, but certainly not. Their payroll's never as high as the Cubs and the Cardinals, and yet they've consistently been better than those teams.
Why would he leave?
He's a free agent at the end of the year.
Right,
you don't think about free agents in Milwaukee.
No, I know you don't, but why would he leave a mid-tier payroll team to come from a bottom-tier payroll team?
He probably wouldn't, and in fact, I think he's going to go to the Mets because the GM he worked with in Milwaukee, a guy by the name of David Stearns, just got hired to be the new president or GM of the Mets.
I remember
and Buck Showalter is out.
Buck Showalter is out.
How young is he? I remember him playing.
He
That's
still
crazy.
looks like
Well,
he's
didn't
25.
Counsell score the winning run in the 97 World Series for the Marlins?
And
Could we handle that?
Sure.
The guy's a hell of a manager. He gets the most out of his talent.
I don't see him managing enough.
But
I know you do a lot.
I watch. I
see the Cubs
play the Brewers all the time.
Sure,
he is an excellent manager. He's great with bullpen. He's great with in-game strategy. I think he's one of the 5 best managers in baseball.
Wow.
I think he's the most underrated manager in the game.
Well,
he doesn't get the recognition because ultimately they haven't won a World Series.
Yeah.
And they haven't even gone to a World Series. But I think he's done more with less. I think the Brewers are a decent team, but they're not great, and they won the division going away.
Yeah.
And they've done that a lot. So I love Counsell, but I think he'll end up with the Mets because they'll offer him a boatload of money. Now, here's the guy. Maybe a lot of people don't know this guy, but I think there's a great chance he becomes the next manager. Mike screwed up the name. Don't put them all up. You spoiled my surprise here.
You said you wanted all 4 in a graphic and a special one for Counsell.
I never said that.
That's what we talked about last night.
I want to see the metadata.
All right.
Give me the metadata.
First of all, the guy who's my second choice and who will most likely be the manager, I think, is Will Venable. There's no S at the end of his name, Mike.
Oh, then that is on me.
Yeah,
that is on
it's
me.
Will Venable. Will Venable, okay? You know who he played? You know where Will Venable played college baseball?
Oklahoma.
I'm guessing somewhere in Ohio.
No. He played college baseball at Princeton.
Oh, gee.
You know who else played college baseball at Princeton? At the same time as Will Venable?
Antonetti.
No, his number 2 guy.
Chernoff.
Mike Chernoff and Will Venable were teammates in college.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Will Venable was a good, pinch hitter, journeyman Major League Baseball player for a number of years. He's been on winning coaching staffs. He was on the Cubs team that won the World Series. He was on that coaching staff. He's been with the Rangers, who are going to the playoffs this year. He's a highly thought of managerial candidate. He's interviewed for jobs the last 2-3 years, hasn't gotten one yet. But when you connect the dots between the relationship between him and Chernoff, there's a possibility Antonetti might be leaving this offseason too. I think that's possible.
Yeah.
And which would make Chernoff even higher up in the pecking order. But if you look at their relationship,
there is a connection,
and the fact that he's a highly thought of guy around baseball,
right?
Player, has been a coach, paid his dues for a while.
Smart guy.
Very smart guy.
Embraces analytics.
Yes.
There you go.
He's the second choice. Now, personally, I don't think they should stick with any of the guys in the organization.
You don't think Sandy's going to get
I don't want no.
Damn,
I'm done with
Sandy.
Sandy. However,
Sandy.
how about another former Guardian as an outside the box thinking? Mike Napoli.
I saw that on there. Is he
Mike-
managing somewhere in the minors?
He is the Cubs' first base coach right now.
Is he really? I didn't
Yes.
even know that.
He's been the Cubs' first base coach for a couple of years. So he's done some coaching. He's always been considered a great leader in the locker room. He was beloved by his teammates
And we could
the
party
fans.
at Napoli.
We party at Napoli's.
Napoli's after every game.
How was Mike Napoli over Sandy Alomar? How?
I think the ship has sailed on San Diego.
How does
Really?
the
So-
ship sail on a manager? Like, did he just forget baseball?
Gee, I just think there's something about the Guardians are a young team, and I think you maybe need a manager who's a little more with the times.
Well, what about this? though?
You say what you saying if I read between the tea leaves?
Yeah.
Sandy ain't really locked in with all the analytics.
Now, I don't know. No, I don't even know that.
To me, he looks like a field player.
Part of me is like, I just need somebody from out of the
What
organization.
about this,
right now.
though? The game has a huge Hispanic influence.
Yes.
Huge.
Right.
Most rosters have double-digit players
Yes.
that are Latin American.
Yes.
I would think that, and I know
yes,
it didn't
none
work
of
with
my
Ozzie
candidates
Guillen in Chicago. They thought that would work. It didn't.
Didn't they win a championship?
Well, it worked for a
it worked.
minute, but it worked
I thought it went well.
And you know what? I would take
What more?
one
I'm
quick
about to
and
say,
5
what
years
more do
off.
you want?
Let me just give you.
You're right.
Let me give you two more guys real quick.
Okay.
One that was on there and one that would fit. You know, if you wanted to hire a Latin manager,
Right.
I hadn't really thought about it
Okay.
in that way. But the other guy, a little off the board, Mark DeRosa. Now, Mark DeRosa managed the U.S. Team USA.
He did.
Yeah.
He's also played for the Guardians.
Yep.
The
Indians.
Indians, of course. And
well-liked here.
Well respected, well liked.
Yeah.
Real. I'm sure he'd be a great players manager. So I think he's a little off the board. I don't know that he even wants to manage full time. And I'll throw one more guy who I didn't put on there, Joe Espada. Joe Espada is Dusty Baker's bench coach in Houston.
What about Aaron Boone?
Why you?
Aaron
No,
Boone's
it was a
staying with
fly.
New York.
It was a
Have they
fly.
come out? They've come out and said that. Wow.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm surprised.
that's a big surprise. I thought he was dead man walking.
Yeah.
Wow.
No,
With that payroll and a last place finish, or did they finish ahead of the Red Sox?
I can't remember.
Wow. Okay, I thought Aaron Boone would be available.
I'll ask you. Even when the Indians had those teams, don't you believe? I thought, to me, watching with my younger eyes, I thought Sandy was the de facto captain.
I think he was 5 years ago, but when Tito missed games and he wasn't named the acting manager, I, like
said
Bull,
something.
felt,
yeah.
that's not a vote of confidence.
Nobody's hired Sandy in all these years to be a
I
manager.
know, and I can't
It's
understand
been a long
why.
time. I don't know why.
You would have thought that with his lineage, his dad played Major League Baseball.
Yep.
His brother is a
brother.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Sandy was
a
an
catcher.
unbelievably popular player here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
You thought at
Plus,
some
he's
point
a catcher, and
he knows the
catchers,
managers.
got to
and
manage
catchers.
pitchers.
Who do you think? If
I don't know, man.
I would like to see
That's
Sandy
a whole
get a
lot
shot.
of stuff.
who is okay? If they ask if on the way out, Tito's gonna say, "I recommend."
Oh, he's gonna get a recommendation.
The hitting coach was well thought of. What's the hitting?
Valleca?
Yes.
Yeah.
I talked to him at spring training. Very impressive guy. Bright.
Yeah.
I think he's
He's
kind of
young.
in the Tito mold.
and how many home
very
runs did
young.
they hit last year?
Well, that's a fact.
I'm cool. I'm straight.
Listen, his bench coach is DeMarlo Hale. DeMarlo Hale's an older guy. Maybe he recommends him, but
That baseline, we can't do the hit coach.
Did
fool.
we set a record for the lowest home run in the modern era?
no.
I can't believe we did.
It was
you know,
close.
Oh my
It was
goodness!
horrible.
By the way, speaking of home runs, I texted you guys this stat yesterday.
Oh, I loved
that
it.
Kyle Schwarber of the Phillies, the first player in the history of baseball to bat under 200 but drive in 100 runs.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
How many home runs did he finish with?
48, I think it was.
48 homers, 47 singles.
He is the poster child for the all or nothing era.
Right.
And we would have
It's a
kept.
home run walker single.
That's it.
Home run walker strikeout.
That's
pretty
it.
much.
We would have kept Fran Mail, he would have had the same thing.
No, he wouldn't.
How much
If Fran Mill could hit 40-something homers,
How much did he hit?
Fred Mill did have a nice number of home runs.
How many did he hit?
Yeah, but Schwarber's hit those like 35 or more, like
Yeah.
a number of years in a row.
All right, it's time to
Yeah.
go lights out here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You got to read first, Mike?
We do have a read first,
Okay.
then we're going to go lights out. We will bring in Shawne Merriman in 1 sec. We'll talk a little bit more about Terry Francona tomorrow after we hear his official release. But we bring on Shawne Merriman now, and this weekend, Shawne is one of the owners of Lights Out Extreme Fighting, and they have a massive card coming up this weekend.
Wow.
The main event, Morales versus Tolliver. If you guys like UFC, MMA fighting, it's not UFC, it's in the same vein, though. It's mixed martial arts to the extreme. Lights Out Extreme Fighting. You can buy the pay-per-view event. It's on Fubo Sports Live. Morales versus Tolliver should be a big one. Two heavyweight guys. Not heavyweight fighters, but guys that throw heavy punches, and should be fun. And with that, let's welcome in Shawne Merriman, Mr. Lights Out himself.
Yeah.
How you doing, Shawne?
There he is.
What's up, fellas?
One of the great all-time sack dances ever. Where would you rate yours? Are you saying yours is the best of all time?
I think so, man. I'm looking at, it's always an uncomfortable question because I hate, for one, talking about myself. If somebody else said, I'm like, okay, cool. But when it comes to the sack dances, man, mine, I think at the time was so original, right? Like there was no one else doing something like that. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, when you see a bunch of these guys, they're like doing whatever the latest dance is, right? Like they're all doing the same thing. So I used to love Jared Allen's, Demarcus Ware. Joey Porter's kick, I used to like a whole lot, man. So you had some guys out there who had some pretty good sack dances.
Shawne, my favorite when I was a kid, and I'm older than you, was Mark Gastineau with the Jets back in the day, like the New York Sack Exchange. And I hated the Jets when I was a kid. I grew up in New York, not a Jets fan. I hated them, but I loved the Mark Gastineau sack dance. Did you like that one?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think his was rated. They did on ESPN. They did something where they rated the top 10 or top 15. His was like 1, mine was 2 or 3 or something like that. I'm always going to be 1 in every category, right? That's just like the competitive edge I have. But he was one of the ones. He was the one that made it cool, right? Yeah. Like as a defensive player, like he made it cool and kind of set the tone for everybody else.
Shawne, I used to be a defensive end. It don't look like it no more. Like I got the 3-4 defensive end body. Like, I'm saying? I got the 2 gap. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm just holding people up, telling the backers to get home. But you made a cameo. How the heck did you get into the Kanye West, Carrie Hilson, Neo knocks you down video? How did that just pop up?
So my boy Chris Robinson, the big time director, he's from Baltimore, and I'm from Maryland. And they had this party coming up, and so I guess he was talking to Kanye and talking to everybody there. They're like, hey, Shawne Merriman, I think this would be a good part. And so it was really Kanye and everybody, and Chris Robinson, who called me and asked me to come and do that part. So I didn't expect it. I just got a call from Chris out the blue. I'm like, Kanye, Carrie Hilson, Neo, yeah. Where y'all at? Where do I go?
You had me at Kanye.
Yeah, sign me up.
Hey, go ahead, Tyvis.
Shawne, you had a season, I think it was in your first season, you had 10 sacks, and then the next season I think you dug back with 17 sacks. What was the difference in your offseason that helped you get to those extra 7 sacks?
Man, to be honest, I was around like Ray Lewis, LeVar Arrington, around a lot of those guys. So they kind of was telling me, because of the rookie season I had, he said, man, dude, they're going to be gunning for you, just know. And so I changed my mentality from playing against offensive sets to playing against coordinators, right? What people going to come out and do with me, slide protection, chips off the edge, tight bunch sets to keep me off from the line of scrimmage and getting in my pass rush. So I was prepared for that season. So every time I started to see a guy go in motion, I'm like, oh, they come to crack block me. Like my mind was always going that somebody's going to stop me from getting to the quarterback. So my mentality was was different. And also, man, I picked up MMA. I started training MMA during that all season to work on my hands and endurance. And I felt better.
Are you going to fight on any of your cards? You look like you can still get in there and knock heads.
No, man. Look, I like to train with the guys, and our main event that we got coming up right there with Musa and Albert, who had a short stint in the UFC. I've trained with both of these guys. I sparred with them. We've been in the gym. That's the far as it go for me, man. Like I think a lot of people get in here, and I like to stay in shape because I still like to compete. It keeps me young, keeps me disciplined, give me something to wake up in the morning for, and I like being around those guys because it's like being in the locker room again. You hear the back and forth trash talking. These guys are ready to scrap. So I like being around it. But as far as competing, man, I'm running the show behind the scenes, so it's hard to do both.
Shawne, if Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt got in the ring, who you putting money on?
Ooh.
I'm putting Myles, man. I'm putting Myles. Myles is a freak of nature, and I've seen him boxing during the offseason before. And I told him, I said, hey, I know you made a lot of money, but you can make some more money when you're done somewhere else. I'm just saying. So, he's an athletic freak. I haven't seen J.J. Watt, even though he's an athletic freak, man. But I tell you, sometimes those muscles and all that don't help you in that cage, man. That when you put those gloves on to get in there and they lock that cage, those muscles can't help you.
Let me ask you this. You're a Maryland guy. DeQuell Jackson was a regular on our show before he big-timed us and took a job with the Browns. What if you and DeQuell get in a cage at the same time? Who's coming out alive?
Oh, come on, man.
No, that's me, man. I'm picking myself over anybody. DeQuell's my boy, man. We talk every other week. We on group text and we still clown each other. But, it's funny because I tell people how great DeQuell was, and the team at that time, the Browns, just didn't do well. But DeQuell, if he got more attention, people need to understand that he was one of the best who did it. Numbers-wise, look at his play. I played with him, man, so I know what he did in college. But I wish he got more notoriety in the league because DeQuell was a baller.
He was.
He's the best Browns linebacker in probably 30 years. I mean, we recognized him here, but as you said, the Browns had so little talent around them that it didn't stand out nationally.
Yeah, and when I left school early, I came back and I drove my new cars and stuff up on campus, and and Quell and everybody kind of got in the car with me. I said, dude, you up next, and so it was cool for them because I was a younger one and just ended up leaving early, and then going back and then seeing DeQuell's career. And you're right, man. If they had a better team around him, DeQuell go down as one of the all-time greats, and I think he still is, but he would have got the notoriety that he ultimately deserved.
You talked about Myles Garrett. What way does Myles Garrett's, I'll give you matter of fact, I'm gonna switch my question right here. I'm gonna just give you a couple of names, and can you give me what makes these pass rushers great in your opinion? Micah Parsons, T.J. Watt, and Myles Garrett. What makes those guys great?
Well, start with Micah Parsons, man, to be honest. And I hate making these comparisons. I remember an article coming out comparing me to Junior Seau. I had a big rookie year, and I'm like, dude, listen, Junior was on a whole nother planet. So I don't want those comparisons, but I think that we can start comparing at some point. I'm not saying right now, but at some point, compare Micah Parsons to Lawrence Taylor. You're talking about somebody with the same explosion, speed, tenacity, and these guys aren't looking to go make a tackle. They're looking to blowing everything up. These guys can take over games. Myles Garrett, I think his physical attributes is something we haven't seen. His leverage, he has a long arm stab move. He's still so strong, man. And that one play when he was lining up over the center, kind of basketball dribbling and go, it's a game. He's playing with guys, man. That's when you just on a whole different platform to any one of these guys because you're able in the mid game. You got to be focused. He's out there toying with guys because his physical attributes is bigger than anyone else. And T.J. Watt, man, he's ferocious because he can beat you with speed, but he has this unique power because he's still a tall guy to bend and lean and come back under, man, and split double teams. Obviously, we just talked about being able to know what offensive coordinator is going to do to you. I mean, he's been chipped and double teamed a lot this year. Watch T.J. Watt and how he split these chips when these running backs come and hit him off the edge of the line of scrimmage. So he has that combination because he's still a tall guy to bend and be nimble enough to come up under and make these big plays happen.
Mikey.
Yeah, Shawne, so I just texted DeQuell and told him we had you on, and he goes, haha, that's my guy, lights out, what a great dude. You guys will be stupid not to ask him how he got the nickname Lights Out. It's a legendary story around the DMV. So from DeQuell Jackson's text to my mouth to your answer, how did the nickname Lights Out come to be?
So I knocked out 4 guys my sophomore year in high school.
His sophomore year.
My sophomore year in high school, yeah. And so I had 20 students come running to me after the game and said, man, you knocked those guys lights out. And I said, you know what? Call me Lights Out. I didn't think it was going to stick. I just threw it out there. Next thing you know, Monday morning in school, this is pre-social media now. Yeah. Everybody's called me Lights for Lights Out. And I went home. I begged my mom to let me get this Lights Out tattoo on my arm after 2 weeks. She kicked me out the room every day for 2 weeks, told me to get out, right? So finally, let me get the Lights Out tattoo. But the fun story is, I'll tell you this, when I got up there on campus, Quell's a Florida boy, right? And I'm from the city. I'm from Maryland, Washington, D.C. Quell ain't want a roommate with me because he thought that he thought I was too city for him. So Quell was like, I'm not staying with you. He went with another country boy, our boy Will Kershaw from North Carolina. But man, Quell, let me tell you, man, he has the best stories because I was lights out walking into the building, and I was running my mouth and challenging people to fights and practice. It was nonstop with me, man. And we had such a tight knit group. And honestly, man, if we were a little bit better at the time on offense, we would have won a national championship. If you look at that defense with me, DeQuell Jackson, E.J. Henderson, Leon Joe, Randy Starks, Dominic Foxworth, you can go through that whole roster, man. We were loaded on the defense side of the ball.
Wait, what year was this? What year?
This was 02 to 04.
And this is before NIL too. Let me find out that y'all was getting some money back there. That defense
was the year the
that's
Buckeyes won the
crazy.
Yeah, well they wasn't beating the Buckeyes. But anyway,
Well, I have Buckeyes. Buckeyes. They play this week.
Yeah, they do. They play this week.
Yeah, I'm calling my Terps. I'm telling you right now, the Terps. Yes,
Shine.
I came on. I saw that shirt. Shine. I saw that shirt when I came on. And I say this especially for you.
Shine.
The Terps right now are 5-0. The Terps are 5-0.
Shine. This is cute. This is really cute that you think.
Yeah.
That's...
It's cute now, but it's about to get ugly. Watch how.
Wow.
Watch how.
In Ohio State, Maryland's go win.
Absolutely, we coming in there and taking the dub. I'm telling you right. Look. I know everybody talk about the biggest talk in college football. We know Coach Prime. Nobody's talking about Maryland. Nobody's talking about Maryland and the most explosive college team and most explosive offense in college football, and no one's talking about it. And they about to. I'm not even gonna call it upset because we're supposed to win.
Tua's little brother tore the Buckeyes defense up last year. That's a fact. You can't. Tyvis?
Wait a minute. Who won that game?
They won the game, but he tore the Buckeyes defense to pieces.
All that matters is the win.
Who won the bull? What are we talking about here?
But it should be a competitive game, though.
I think it's going to be very competitive.
I agree. I think it should definitely be a competitive game. And I actually think
points.
I'm interested now. I think it's 18.5. But
the spread's 18.5?
I think it's disrespectful that y'all not in the top 25. I will say that, but come on, man.
Look, numbers are numbers. And I'm telling you right now, that offense is going to go in there and march the ball right down the field. Now, I'll say this. We might have a little trouble in the trenches. Y'all got a big offensive line. Y'all got some hogs up, some big dogs up front on that defensive line. Skill position, y'all can't hang with us. And it's not going to happen. We're going to scorch y'all on offense. It's going to come down to the wire.
Wait a minute. Skill. What are you talking about? Skill.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is pretty good.
You're talking about one player. Maryland has three. Three guys.
So Emeka Egbuka is not the second best receiver in college football? Because we got 1 and 2. You know that, right?
I don't know how much time, but I'm about to Google these numbers that Maryland putting up.
I think the two.
Hey, Sean, what do you want me to look up? I will do your research.
The two leading receivers from last year is the Buckeyes.
In the Big Ten?
That doesn't make them the best necessarily.
Coming back to returning, they are the best. What are you talking about?
Well, that alone doesn't prove they're the best.
Okay, this is cute. This is really cute. Oh my gosh,
be careful.
This is hilarious.
Whenever somebody have to go to 1 or 2 players on their whole team, you know it's a bad sign.
They got one shot.
The thing is,
are we saying Ohio State's quarterback's a stiff? Is that what we're saying?
Wait a minute. Outside of Talia, we don't know anybody else on the Terps.
Oh, Hemby. That running backs they got back there, they're crushing right now.
Ohio State has 6 of them, so. They have 6 running backs.
I mean,
every last one of them will come in and get 100 yards.
For the record,
as a matter of fact, I think Dallin Hayden had 100 yards on yards. He's like the 5th string running back.
I got to get Sean's back here. The leading receiver in the Big Ten last year wasn't on Ohio State.
Ooh. Who was it?
Maryland.
It wasn't Maryland either.
Oh, okay.
Purdue. Charlie Jones.
The
dangerous Charlie Jones.
He does have a touchdown in the NFL this year.
David Bell was going back and forth from the Browns to the Purdue. Touchdown.
Sean, I want to get to something else. I'm curious your take on Deshaun Watson, right? He misses almost 2 full years. He comes back the final 6 games last year. He plays terribly. First 2 games this year he struggled. and then he played a great game against Tennessee, and then he's hurt. This guy in Houston looked like he was on his way to being one of the elite quarterbacks, maybe even a Hall of Fame quarterback. Outside of this one game against Tennessee, we haven't seen it here. Are you expecting to see that guy again? Do you think he's been mentally screwed up by everything that's happened? Like, what do you make of him and his game going forward?
For one, his shoulder was banged up, right? And I thought it was a smart decision by them not playing him. And it's the same thing when you talk about like Joe Burrow with that calf. I just don't understand why you let your franchise quarterback, if they're not 100% or close to it, go out there and risk further damage. Yep. He's going to, they signed him to a big deal. He's going to be there for a long time. They got to pay him. Sit him out. He went out there. He's been through a bunch of injuries already. He's played through a lot. He's tore his knee up in college before. He's been banged up. So he understands the difference between hurt and injured, right? So I thought it was smart to pull him out. But on the flip side, it's such a team game, man. Like losing Nick Chubb going down was a big hit for them. They're getting, honestly, man, on that offensive and defensive line, they're getting bullied, in certain positions. Lamar Jackson is going to get his yards. You're not going to shut Lamar Jackson down. He's going to beat you or beat it with his arm or legs at some point in time. He's going to get his plays. But if you go back and watch that game, man, you see some guys getting bullied a little bit on the offense and defensive line. They have guys that can pass rush. They got guys that can get out the quarterback. The problem is they're not putting up points on offense. So how is Myles Garrett and these guys who can get after the quarterback going to be in a pass rush situation if they're not putting up points on offense? That's the biggest problem, man. Like when you built a team and you have a team in Schwartz over there who's a very aggressive defensive coordinator. He's been aggressive his whole entire career. Every time he's coached anywhere, he knows how to get after the quarterback. But why would anybody throw if they're playing from behind? And so that's the biggest thing of what I'm saying. But Deshaun, man, he has to play better, or else that team is just not going to go anywhere.
Shawne, we appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for taking the time with us.
Appreciate you.
Hey, where can we watch the fights? Where can we get the fights if we want to watch them?
On Fubo Sports, Fubo TV. We're live at 6 p.m. Saturday, 6 p.m. Saturday Pacific on Fubo Sports.
Very good.
Thank you. Appreciate
Shawne,
it.
thanks, man.
Go
Great
Bucks.
stuff.
Guys,
Go Bucks.
All right. Go Terps.
Man, we got to bring Shawne back
If Maryland wins, can you come on Monday?
Not going to win the game.
Listen, Maryland win. I might be in that studio because I ain't stop talking.
Hey, Shawne, anytime you want, there's an extra chair in here. Come in
I'm calling off.
Anytime you want.
Thanks, Shawne.
Great job, Shawne. You got to be careful, Tyvis, because
Tyvis, you are very sensitive.
I know it's a big spread, but it does.
Damn.
This game worries me. It worries me.
That's cute.
All right,
You're worried?
I am. I'm concerned. I just remember how
The game was.
they moved it on Ohio State last year at ease. They barely won that game, Ohio State.
Listen, what's going to happen is they're going to come out, Maryland's going to come out and hit them right in the mouth. Boom. They're going to go up.
See, that's the problem.
They're going to go up 14 points like that.
Wow.
And we're going to be like, oh, my God. And you know what's going to happen? Second half, they're going to make checks and adjustments. Ohio State's going boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
It'll be a 14-point game. We'll win.
First of all, two things. Number one, there's too much texting going on. Too much texting going on right now.
Oh, no, I wasn't even texting.
Too much texting.
Here's what I was doing.
Too much. It's distracting.
Steve
let's
Becker,
go.
stop texting the panelists
Stop,
during
it's
the
too
show.
much.
Here's-
Hold on, wait. Well, speaking of phones, since we on there, I just want everybody to know, Steve, let me get that. Let me
Here
see
we
something.
go. Here
Let
we
me see
go.
something right here. So on Sunday, I'd say around 4 o'clock, I'm looking at my fantasy. As you know, the UCSS, we have fantasy, and I just so happen to be going against the Crawfords, Jay and his son.
We
Corey.
prefer the Yacht Boys.
Whatever.
By the way, Jay gets no credit. Corey did all the work.
The Crawfords.
Corey wishes
Okay,
he did all the
so
work.
I'm looking at my thing, and I'm like, dang, man, I'm about to lose to the Crawfords, right? Said I almost had him, And Jay says, had. Okay, so okay. Let him play it. I got a couple of players still going. He got some players that's still going. Comes down to Monday Night Football. I have Geno Smith and Darren Waller. They have Tyler Lockett. So at this point, they were winning by .24. So I'm thinking to myself, as long as Geno throws the ball to Tyler
Yeah, when
Lockett.
Geno came out with injury, I know you got nervous.
I was like, oh my God. But I'm like,
Darren Waller no-showed.
yeah.
Yeah, to
But
the end, he caught a couple of garbage.
Make a long
The
story
worst part about it is, had I started Baker Mayfield
over who? Patrick
over
Mahomes?
Patrick Mahomes,
Who would have did that?
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who
of
would have
course
did
it's
that?
ridiculous,
Yeah.
but I would have won.
Don't nobody care about that. Give me the one
G.
shot.
Bush is 4-0 in
Give me
first
the
place.
one shot.
Nobody care about that. Nobody care about
Who in
that.
first place?
G. Bush.
The Kool-Aid Mafia.
G. Bush, let me ask you a question.
Is that the name of your team?
Yeah, no, I
G.
should
Bush.
He
change
should
it.
make
Should
it
be the
there.
Kool-Aid
Who
Mafia.
was in first place in early October last year?
You were.
Me.
Were you
And
the
who
first
won
one?
the championship?
This guy.
That's right.
But
was
this
in
year,
first place
Bull is
last
pulling a Bengals. He's 1-3.
Yeah, you should.
I was 1-3 last year. Also.
Were you really?
I was definitely
Yeah,
1-2.
Bull started slow last year.
I don't love your team. I checked out your roster for the first time
Well,
last night. I don't love your team.
Well,
The way he
I got
disses
Daniel
people is
Jones.
so crazy.
Disaster.
and Javonte
He
Williams.
got decked 10 times last night.
Who?
Daniel Jones.
It was bad.
That's who your quarterback is?
10
Well, I got 2 quarterbacks.
sacks.
I don't
Bobby
like.
Wagner had 18 tackles and 2 sacks. He's in his
I actually
12th season.
I actually don't like my team either in this league.
gotta look at it.
But I'll still find a way to get to the playoffs.
Let me
'Cause
look
that's what I
at
do.
it.
That's all.
But
That's all that matters.
If I win a championship again this year, you guys should be embarrassed because my team is not that good. I didn't have a great draft.
Yeah,
No,
you
I-
only,
I'll
you
agree.
only
Great
really
draft.
got like 2, 3, maybe 3 guys.
I'll figure it out. I always
well, didn't you get Nakua? Who got him after
No, I
G.
don't have
Bush has
Nakua.
Nakua.
Oh, G. Bush got him.
Guys, we got one more thing before Sam Monson joins us. I do have to
Yeah.
remind you guys, before we get
hate
to it,
you.
though, if you guys need some comfy, casual,
I hate
athletic
you.
clothing for the upcoming fall and winter
team
season, make sure you
nice.
head over to Bird Dogs. Check them out at birddogs.com. They work in any situation for any occasion. Check them out at birddogs.com.
One other thing, Mike, I wanted to say when we were having this conversation before. My beef with college football
Yeah.
Lord.
is that we're talking like we're supposed to be excited about a game that's a 20-point spread.
18 and a half.
That, like in the
It's
NFL,
not 20, it's 18 and a
in
half.
the NFL, you don't even have a spread that big.
Well, there's only 32 teams.
I know,
So
but
the talent dispersion
it's
is
just that's why I hate. That's why
They're
I
two
shouldn't say I
totally
hate college
different
football,
sports. They're two totally
they
different
are.
sports.
But I just college football does nothing for me.
I love
there's
it.
there's so many nothing games.
I
Yeah,
do
but
wanna ask
LSU
you
was a big
guys-
favorite and they got popped. It happens.
I hear you, but
It happens.
not often.
I do want to
No,
ask you guys a
not- you're
question,
right.
though. It happened last night on Monday Night Football in New York. It's happened all 3 home games here in Cleveland. At some point or another throughout each of the home games, the home fans have booed the Browns.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any issue with that?
Wait, say that one. Who booed
No,
the
I got
Browns?
no
The
issue
home
with that.
the Browns have been booed in all 3 home games.
This year?
Yes, at some point in the games. I mean, it wasn't
Crazy.
nuts, but they were there. But that's
I mean, the last
that's
game,
what happens in the NFL.
The last game, I get the booing. Like, it was bad. But
Why?
I don't know about
why
the
they get
others.
booed in the Titans game.
Why they get booed in the
It was early, I
Bengals
think.
game?
Really early.
It was very early when they
had
didn't
a
get
3
they
and
didn't
out,
move the
maybe?
ball
I think
for
they had
the
a-
first 3 drives.
And I think
Yeah.
Elijah
But
Moore
how
got
much
ripped.
booing was there?
It was minimal.
I did.
It
I'm
was
at
minimal.
the
You just
stadium
heard
and I don't
pockets
hear the
of, like,
boos.
it's like some of the natives were
Listen,
a little restless.
The Browns have been an absolute dumpster fire for 3 decades. I
Yeah.
can't blame fans for booing.
No, I never do.
I mean, that's
I mean,
it.
it's not what I do.
You know what?
I don't.
I
boo.
go to support the team. I'm not going to boo them, but I understand why fans would.
Fans have every right to boo. I'm not a booer either, but
Yeah.
I never understood booing your own team
I do.
unless
No, I do too.
unless you feel like they're not giving effort.
Did you
That's-
like what
But that's
were you
part
ever
of it.
booed as a player?
That's cute. That's cute.
Of course, you played at Ohio
No,
State.
I tell you what, our offense got booed by in 2015 because they were not great.
By the way, the only thing worse than the worst is when a player complains about booing.
Yeah, you can't
Shut the
hear
hell
that
up.
stuff. Yeah, and
Play
you,
better.
Oh, I
you just
don't-
give them more ammo.
Yeah, I don't. care about
No,
that.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
I don't think the defense was getting booed. I think the offense was getting booed.
Well,
It's
that's
al-
right.
it's always the
100%.
offense.
yeah,
that gets booed.
it's. I just don't like our offense. I just don't like it.
Oh, well, they are ranked 30th. So.
I just don't. It's just I don't know what they do. It's just blah. It's just, man. It's just sometimes.
It's at the bye week, you know. I thought we'd be more happy, but it's just
Well, listen,
to be
if 2-2 is
500
fine.
to
It's
be
fine.
you
It's
yeah
fine.
you
Hey,
still
you could
got
beat
everything,
the Bengals.
but
Yeah.
But what
I
sucks
tell
is we're only a game ahead of the Bengals, and look how the Bengals have played.
it's
and
we're
they're gonna play better.
They will
not get
figure it out.
twisted. Like we're gonna play
I love
better.
how when I bring up all these other things, Jay's like, I don't care about other teams. I don't care. And every time we talk about the Browns, it could be the Bengals.
I'm
Every
trying to make
time.
ourselves feel better. We could be worse.
Well, you could say the Giants. You couldn't say the Panthers.
We
or
relate
the Bears.
to the Bengals, not the Giants or the Panthers
Yeah,
or
the
the
Bengals
Bears.
are miserable right now, but
How about the Broncos?
The one thing I agreed is one of the Bengals offensive linemen Alex Kappa was asked about booing in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And he said, we deserve to get booed.
That is absolutely
the
the right
answer.
answer.
That's what Leroy said. I'd boo me too.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
And listen, the Browns shouldn't have been booed in the Tennessee game. I think that was pretty stupid.
I don't think they should have been booed
Premature.
in the Cincinnati game.
They won by 24.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
and it's opening
why
day,
would you
like-
boo it? Like,
You want to boo the offense for this past game? Okay, they were awful.
I
don't know what you expected from a guy who's a 5th-round rookie, but
you got your two key positions got backups. Your running back and your quarterback is backup. Then your right tackle is already gone. Your backup right tackle went out. Somebody else got hurt too. The center went out. It's like what y'all expect?
Travis, I don't want to hear about any of those injuries.
It's the truth.
Outside of the quarterback,
It's the truth.
Ravens had 8
The
guys
Ravens
who
had
didn't
8
play.
starters out.
So what? They had time to actually build chemistry to know that
Come
they
on
wasn't
now.
going to be there. At least
You
they had a
know
week
better
of
than everybody
practice.
else.
It's that the NFL
You know
is
better-
not the place, especially when it comes to offensive line, that I'm gonna just plug somebody in and think that everything. Is
Actually, be truthful, DeJuan Jones is better than Conklin.
okay. What about the center position that went down? And
I
what
think-
about when DeJuan Jones went out?
I think Ethan Poaches and Harris is a wash.
You think they're the same?
I think they're a wash.
Only problem on the line is left tackle. Come on.
And I think Jed Wills, God bless him.
Who came in?
God rest his soul. What happened to him?
Who came in for DeJuan Jones when he went down? I think he went
James
out
Hudson did a very, very, very subpar job on Sunday. When
Guys,
wow,
we can't do this. Unless it's the quarterback, which is an extreme situation. Every team has injuries.
You're right.
Every team.
Yeah.
But we don't pay attention to the DeJuan Jones of the world on other teams that get injured.
And here's my thing. I watched Zach Wilson, except for one play.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson and the Jets played really good against
That was
the
his
Chiefs.
best. I think his best game as a pro.
And when the quarterback's out,
And I'm forced
did
to
you
pick
see
him
Salah? He did not concede that game. He didn't sit there with a sheet over his face and look around. They were ready to play. He was passionate, and they got
What'd you guys think of that
most out
defensive
of that
holding
game.
call?
What does that
The
have
Jets
to do
haven't
with
done
the-
squat.
Yeah,
What'd you guys think of the defensive holding call, though?
Oh, that was atrocious.
That was
Literally
was
decided-
egregious. It was
I mean,
egregious.
You hate to say that anything,
They just decided
the game,
Yeah,
but
that
in
was
that
egregious.
They
situation,
just decided the Chiefs was going to win.
that's what it felt like.
That's
That was egregious.
That was horrible.
I was looking
Bad
at them
call.
like,
Now, hold on. Remember,
that's horrible.
I haven't seen a bad call against the Chiefs in a very
Oh,
long
come
time.
on. Every team thinks every fan base thinks their team.
Well, when you win, too, you get the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, you do.
I don't care
you
what
get that.
anybody says.
Yeah, you get
Last
that.
week,
Greg Maddox effect.
last week, the whole conversation in New York was that Robert Saleh's lost the team. Now you're talking about him like he's some.
They were saying that.
Oh, yes.
Hey, I
Because
thought
the players were supposedly pissed that he was still playing Zach Wilson.
they played hard.
Yeah, they did. They played hard.
That's how I know if they love their coach.
Taylor Swift
If you-
doesn't even know anything about football, but she was watching going, come on, guys, this is the
Like,
Jets.
I pulled
Are you
up.
saying the Browns didn't play hard this past week?
I'm saying after it was 14-3, the defense knew it was a wrap.
So you're saying they gave up?
I didn't say they gave up.
Okay.
I just said they knew what it was. It's a difference between giving up and know what it was, Tyvus. Like
They knew what it was. It ain't nothing we can do.
We can't do about
It
it.
ain't nothing
I'm
we can
still
do.
gonna play, but yeah, we knew what it was. He's not gonna win that
I tell you
game.
what,
Patrick Mahomes played his as bad a game
Worst
as he
game
could play, and they
this
still
year,
found
for
a way to
sure.
win.
They
still found a way to win.
That's the
Because
elite.
they got help from the referees. Oh, God. They did.
It was a
That
bad
pick
call.
happened.
I
the
hate
game.
talking about
Zach
calls.
Wilson was cooking at
And did
that
you
point.
see the hold
Boy, it was
backside when Patrick Mahomes ran for 1,000 yards? I mean, he undressed that man in middle
Third
of
and 22.
The Chiefs are unbelievable.
They
at converting
undressed that
long.
If we looked at it close enough, we could probably pick a penalty that wasn't called on every play.
Yeah, it's holding
You're
every
right.
play.
right? But
You're right.
we only got the ledger.
So that's why I can't worry about officiating.
You know who looks at all 22 players, every single play in every single NFL game? PFF.
Sam Monson.
Yes, sir. And we're gonna listen. And I'm gonna ask him. Don't you jump in. Don't you jump in either and try to filibuster.
You get the
this.
first question.
I'm gonna ask the first question.
Is it about the left tackle?
No, it's about hold on. They already starting. Before you start, no. Listen, I'm gonna ask him what does he feel about the slander that people give him and his organization
yeah.
about not counting.
I'm not one of those.
PFF the grades are trash. Why do we even pay attention to the people? I'm going to ask him what makes their eye in the sky better than your eye at home.
Don't blame me. I'm the one who always uses PFF.
I like that question.
Because I'm a double down on it.
Yeah.
Well, you said as a player you did not think it was accurate.
I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Look, you see,
as a player, I did not pay attention.
Sam will join us here any moment.
Okay.
I do have a little bit of news to but according to Cleveland.com, the Guardians have received permission from the Giants to interview Craig Albernaz, the bullpen and catching coach who was recently working under Gabe Kapler in San Francisco.
Well, I don't know who that is. I think Mike has mispronounced his name.
Craig Albernaz.
I would guess.
Never heard of that guy.
If Bull ain't heard of him, he might be
He was the
fictional.
bullpen and catching coach under recently fired manager Gabe Kapler.
And that's the guy they want to talk to?
I trust Bull. If he's
He
never
might
heard
be a
of
great
him.
manager. I don't know, but I'm saying I never heard of him.
To me, does it just going on face value? Do you think that this is an analytics child or no?
It had to be.
Gabe Kapler.
I mean, Gabe Kapler's an analytics-based manager.
Big.
Yeah.
And he was Gabe Kapler's bullpen coach.
Yeah.
And what?
Bullpen and catching coach.
And the first guy you talk to is never the guy.
This is crazy. How did you get an interview? Is this a favor somebody paying off?
I don't know. Craig Albanese.
I mean, good, great.
Mike could be making up that name for him.
No, here I'll put it in tag board. So
Here's my thing: if Bull doesn't know the name,
Right.
he ain't the guy.
And he's adamant.
He ain't
he's
the guy.
adamant. He's not joking. I've never
Wasn't
seen
he
his face.
Bull's assistant coach just 2 years ago?
Historic rise to
Over
the
in the
ranks.
Rocky
my
River
third
Little
grade
League.
Little League
to
assistant
the
coach.
top.
Hey, if we're
Jay.
going to go that far, why not give Bull an interview?
Yeah! Just manage
Let's
Guardians.
start a campaign,
Let's go.
Bull for manager.
Yes!
Could you imagine Bull coming out in uniform to pull Shane Bieber?
Are the
awesome.
Cubs in the playoffs?
They be playing.
This
No,
is the
they
official
choked
tweet,
the
by
all
the way.
that 50,
are
all
you
that 50 pitch games from you.
I was just saying. I was just saying the other day that I am passionate about 4 baseball teams. 2 that I root for, the Cubs and the Guardians, and 2 that I despise, the Mets and the Yankees. And this is only the second time
Neither one, none of them.
since '93 that none of those 4 teams are in the playoffs. So I have nobody to root for or against.
Who you
Wow.
rooting for, Jay?
Rays.
You want the Rays?
Yeah.
I got no
for
problem
some
with the
odd
Rays.
reason-
There are shadow teams.
I don't have a problem with the Orioles either, even though I don't like their
For
owner.
some
but
odd reason, I want the Blue Jays to win, and I don't know
I don't
why.
like. I got no problem with the Blue Jays.
I have no idea why.
Well, you want? I mean, they can have the Stanley Cup. We get the Major League Baseball World Series trophy. Like we don't want to.
Oh, you don't want it to go into the 6?
No, I don't want it going north of the border. Why would I? Want
I got
that?
no problem with the Blue Jays winning.
And we can't be saying them many sixes in a row.
No. Yeah, exactly. He's over there.
actually-
666 is my team.
No.
I actually, by the way,
Devil worshiper.
by the way,
today?
before
I'm not
the
about to do
season,
this with y'all.
before the season, I picked the Blue Jays to win the World Series.
You did.
He
I
did.
remember that.
Now, I did pick them to beat the Mets in the World Series.
Yeah. They've been golfing since.
You said
since
Guardians
August.
versus Blue Jays, the game before the World Series.
No, I like the Rays. I do.
Bring him in for me, Jay.
We got
Bring
our
him in
next
for
guest,
me.
G. Bush. You have the first question. Before we bring in Sam Monson from PFF, I got to remind the good people out there that if you're shopping for Browns gear this fall, make sure you head over to fanatics.com/UCSS to get all your swaggiest, most comfortable, most stylish Browns gear on the market. Is the full Fanatics shop, but it helps us on the back end. We appreciate any support if you use the code fanatics.com/UCSS. And now it's time to bring in one of our more anticipated guests in a long time. It is PFF's lead analyst. It is the one, the only, Sam Monson.
Sam, listen, man, shout out to you. I'm going right in on him. Nowadays, everybody, when their players and on their teams do well on PFF, they clap it up for them. But let that grade be anything different from what they thought, and they be saying, how does PFF know what's going on? How do they just get to be the end-all, be-all? Can you explain to us what goes into these grades? And one of the big things, one of the big keys is they say, how do they know what play they're calling? If you don't know what play they're calling, how are they getting these grades out? Floor's yours.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a new thing, right? That's been the dynamic we've been dealing with since day one. If people like the PFF grades, if it matches what they want to see, if it says their favorite player is great, it's the best thing out there. It's the source. It's where we want to talk about. And then as soon as it goes the other way and your favorite player is grading badly or something that you didn't want to happen is showing up in the grades, they don't know what they're doing. Like PFF's not in the room. They don't know the play call, all that kind of thing. So, this is not a new development. But, really, the idea of the grading is to just quantify the stuff that we talk about but don't actually try and put numbers to, right? So going through the tape, play by play, and recording, did a guy do a good job, a bad job, or something in the middle, and call it a wash and move on. There's going to be plays where it's impossible to know, the exact assignment if you're not in that meeting room and you don't know a specific switch or a specific call. But I think that's a very small percentage of plays. Generally speaking, everybody is running an outside zone play. Everybody is running an inside zone play. There are coverages that look the same team to team to team. And you can generally tell from what, 10 guys are doing what the 11th guy should be doing. So I think overall, simply the exercise in going through and trying to document and quantify all these things is way more valuable than the margin for error that is created by the fact that it can never be perfect if you're outside of that meeting room.
Sam, I got a question now. 3 weeks ago, I think y'all posted this left tackle for the Steelers, posted this grade, and I just need to know if it was a typo or not. What was it? What did he do?
It was like 3.4%.
Dan Moore's pass block grade
Against the
PFF
Browns.
against the Browns and Myles Garrett was 3.5.
Was that a typo? Wow. Did somebody forget the zero? Because there's
the lowest grade ever?
There's no way.
It's not the lowest grade ever, but Dan Moore's grade, it's funny, like Steelers fans sometimes act like Dan Moore is, the worst left tackle in the NFL. Dan Moore's grade when he's not facing Myles Garrett is like 66 or something like that. So it's average, slightly above average even. And then when he faces Myles Garrett, it's 18 point something for his NFL career. Wow. So this is a guy that gets turned into one of the worst tackles in football when he has to go up against Myles Garrett. And when that doesn't happen, he's perfectly serviceable as a left tackle.
Go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, when you look at the tradition, and I'm unlike some people in the business, I'm a big time pro PFF guy. I'm a subscriber. I'm all in with you guys. So, but when you look at a guy who you watch like Myles Garrett, for example, versus T.J. Watt, the traditional old school statistics, T.J. Watt is better than Myles Garrett across the board. But on PFF, Myles Garrett is consistently, not that T.J. Watt gets bad grades, but Myles Garrett is consistently rated higher. But yet a lot of people can't get over the fact that the old school statistics say T.J. Watt's better. So explain that to the fans, please.
Yeah, we know that old school statistics are a bad way of measuring things, right? We all know this on a case-by-case basis, but when it stacks up in your favor, you tend to forget that. Like, we know that sacks are not a particularly good way of measuring pass rush. It's even an elite player, we're talking 20 plays over 1,000 snaps in a season, right? The kind of margin for error in there is crazy, particularly when you know sacks are not all created equal. Some of them are great plays. Some of them, Michael Strahan broke the record because Brett Favre slid down in front of him and gave him a sack, right? That counts exactly the same as the best sack you've ever seen in your life, where a guy beats, a double team, splits it at the line, gets on top of the quarterback in 1.5 seconds and make that play. So we know sacks or interceptions are not necessarily the best stats in the world. And the bigger a sample size you can create on whatever it is you're trying to measure, pass rush in this case, the better the data is going to be. So we look at every single pass rushing snap, and we're grading every single pass rushing snap. And sometimes those are going to generate sacks and forced fumbles and those splash plays, and sometimes they're not. But they all count. They're all making an impact on the game, even if it's not necessarily getting rewarded by those high-impact, high-leverage plays. Generally speaking, both those guys are incredible pass rushers, right? T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, either one of them is an all-pro caliber guy. Either one of them is a defensive player of the year caliber guy. But over their careers, T.J. Watt has tended to get a few more splash plays, those sacks, forced fumbles, interceptions, than Myles Garrett gets. And Myles Garrett has tended to win a little bit more consistently and a little bit more on average, on a given pass rushing rep, right? And it's where that balance lies. How much credit do you give the guy for making the more impact plays versus how much credit do you give the guy for consistently winning more often? And, I don't know that there's necessarily a correct answer to that question, but that's the dynamic that you're playing with between those two.
Sam, one of the things that we always talk about on the show, because we do PFF segments every week on the show, and one of the things we always talk about is how the hell you guys even get this done. There are, I'm guessing, 1,500 plays in an average NFL week. I don't know. I'm just picking a number at random. And there are, 40 players that are playing a significant amount of time. How many people do you have on your staff? How long does it take to grade one player start to finish, one game? How in the world do you guys get this done?
Yeah, it's a lot of people and a lot of man hours go into this. We're able to do the grading during games, so we don't have to wait until things stop. We don't have to wait. We have a hook in with tape supply. We're able to get a full access to everything we need during games. So as soon as those performances start, we can start working on our processes, and everything is broken down within games to kind of smaller subsets so that one person can go through and do pass rushing versus pass protection. One person can do coverage versus receiving. One person can do run blocking versus run defense. And all these things can be going on concurrently and to try and get everything done as quickly as possible. So, yeah, there are a lot of people. I think our analysis staff is up to like 70 people, something like that.
Wow.
An army of guys, part-time guys, doing the kind of more black and white data collection type stuff that enables all of that to work, right? Down and distance, spot of the ball, all this kind of thing, in order for the kind of packet to be there for the analysts to then come in after and actually start putting grades and final numbers to all these things.
Sam, I got a conspiracy theory, and I want to see if you're going to throw a cherry on top of this thing. We all know how great Nick Chubb was. I have a theory. The Cleveland Browns offensive line, we gave him a lot of credit for a lot of things, but I think that Nick Chubb really covered up some areas where they have some areas of opportunity or are performing as well. I mean, Nick Chubb, his vision, being able to find backside cracks, make the first guy miss, and then make the pile move forward. I think Nick Chubb really is an impact when you take him out of the offense as far as the offensive line in the passing game. What have you guys seen from the difference from the Browns offense with Nick Chubb to the few games that they don't have Nick Chubb?
Yeah, in theory, everybody wants to try and isolate, each individual player from everything that's going on around him. And to an extent, that's what the grades are trying to do. But football is so interdependent. Everything has 3 or 4 or 5 confounding factors that go into it. So when you're trying to isolate the play of just Nick Chubb, the running back, you can factor in what the offensive line does for him. But I think you start to see when you take him out of the lineup the impact that he has on the offensive line as well. And you're right, it's going to be significant. It's still a good offensive line. It's still doing a good job. A guy like DeJuan Jones coming in, he's been fantastic in terms of pass protection, still has a ways to go in terms of run blocking. So it's not quite the way it was last year. But you see that Nick Chubb can turn a well-blocked play by everybody up front. Nick Chubb can make that into something spectacular. And the guys they have at the moment can't necessarily replicate that. So even if the blocking is the same, it has a significant impact on the kind of overall production. And that's true, I think, in pretty much every facet of play, every position you can think of. It isn't just what that player brings to the table. It's the impact, the knock-on effect that he has on the players that surround him or other elements of the game, whether it's offense or defense.
Sam, how much of an influence do you think PFF has on whether or not an organization decides to pay a player?
I think it depends on the player. I think it depends on their representation in terms of what they're bringing to the table to argue their case, how they're kind of trying to negotiate. I think it's involved in every negotiation, right, on probably both sides of the equation. The agents are using it, and here's the data that makes our guy look good. Here's why you should pay him. And then teams are fighting back with, well, here's the data that says he isn't good, or that we can get the same production from somebody else, or whatever. I don't think we're sort of actively involved in these things, but I think pretty much every negotiation that takes place, there's PFF data backing up probably both sides of the argument.
Sam, Baker Mayfield, we always still pay attention to him. Last year he was awful. This year so far he's been very good. I think I had him. I think you guys have him 13th in terms of passing grade. I think I took out, or maybe I took out Andy Dalton because he only played one game. But so he's, so 13. I mean, 13th is good. It's not amazing, but how would you analyze his play so far this year for those who haven't watched play in and play out?
I think this is the best version we've seen since before he was injured in Cleveland, when we thought he was going to take that step forward and really be their answer as a franchise quarterback. His career had kind of fallen apart over the last couple of years. And a lot of what's happened in Tampa Bay so far this season has been the offense and the scheme and the play calling and kind of putting him in a pretty good position to succeed. But he's been taking advantage of that. He's been hitting the open guys. He's been taking the open first read and getting the ball where it needs to go. But the last couple of weeks, I think he's started to add to that as well. He's not just taking what's there and sort of managing the offense. He's actually bringing some plays to the table as well. And I think now we're starting to see Baker adding value on top of what's still a very good offense, a very good scheme, and a very good play calling setup. And that's kind of giving them, I think, some real impetus to move forward and to develop as an offense. I think this is, if you're a Bucs fan, I think it's pretty exciting because I think you're starting to see Baker get back to being the player that we thought he was before everything went off the rails.
Sam, let's bring it to our quarterback, Deshaun Watson. He's been a bit of an enigma. He certainly hasn't been the guy that we saw in Houston. But then he had the week, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, where we started to see real growth and progress. And I know the Tennessee Titans secondary wasn't the greatest, but what are you seeing in Deshaun Watson and his career arc?
Yeah, it's a really tough kind of career to analyze. He, I think, was generally grading a little bit worse than his numbers suggested when he was early in his Houston career. And then the last thing we saw was him putting a season together that looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And then obviously the time out of the game. And when he came back for Cleveland last season, just wasn't that guy. Whether it was rust, whether it was a new environment, whatever, he looked pretty rough last season. I think Jacoby Brissett was a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson last year. And then this year, the big question was, well, was it just rust? Are we going to see him get back to being the player he was? And that hasn't happened yet either. But I think you're right. We started to see signs that maybe he's starting to turn that corner and put it together a little bit more. I think we've seen fewer mistakes from him this year than we did a season ago. That's a big step in the right direction. I think he's still a little bit behind in terms of making those big special plays that we expected him to bring to the table. But overall, I think we are slowly moving in the right direction. It's just a case of how long it takes him to cross that gap, to bridge that gap to where he used to be, right, and whether he can get back all the way.
Sam, our producer, Mike, was asking before the show, we were talking about potential show topics with the Browns on a bye over the next couple of weeks. And one of the questions he asked was, is Grant Delpit the best safety in football this year? And at first reaction, you think, well, that's kind of crazy because he hasn't been anywhere close to that. However, according to you guys, he has been, so far, the fourth best safety in the NFL behind only Jesse Bates of the Falcons, Javon Holland of the Dolphins, and Andre Sisco of the Jaguars.
There's a method to my madness.
There you go. So Mike's not as crazy as he sounds, right?
Yeah, and one thing, when you're 4 games into a season, the sample size is really small, and in particular for safeties, it's going to be swayed by, big defensive plays. So Jesse Bates, right, had those 2 interceptions against rookie quarterback in the first game. Each one of these guys has got at least one really big play to their name, which is going to help boost that grade. But Delpit has been fantastic in this defense. I think we're seeing what a lot of people at draft time really liked about Delpit. And safety is one of those positions in particular where it's so kind of volatile and fluctuates year to year who the best guys are, and it's so sort of dependent on being in the right place at the right time that I don't think that there is a consistent, this guy is the best player at that position in the league, and that's what it's going to be for the next 5-6 years. It's going to change year to year, and a guy like Delpit, like, this might be his season.
Say, I'm curious, when it comes to, you talked before about not all sacks being equal. Well, not all interceptions are equal either for both the quarterback and the guy making the interception. If a ball is tipped up in the air off a wide receiver and it gets intercepted, well, that's not generally the quarterback's fault. In the same vein, If I'm a cornerback and the quarterback throws the ball right to me, that's not, as opposed to, I think a couple of weeks ago in the Rams-Bengals game, there was a Rams player that made an incredible interception against Joe Burrow where he made a diving play to get, are those graded equally, differently too?
Yeah. Those are graded differently because they're very different plays, right? That's part of the difference between grading the process, grading the thing that the player actually did, and the results of that play. If we just wanted to assign credit for the results of any given play, you don't need the tape. You can just work from the box score, right? You can work from the play-by-play. You don't actually need to dive in and see, well, this was a screenplay, right? Like last night is a good example in a couple of different ways. Drew Lock throws a simple out route, right? And the entire Giants defense stops playing, and that slant route, or that out route rather, turns into a 50-yard touchdown play, right? Nothing Drew Lock did created that 50-yard touchdown play other than simply deliver the ball into the hands of the guy that was only a few yards away in terms of air yards. It's a routine play, but the result changes dramatically after the fact. So Drew Lock's grade doesn't change because multiple Giants fell off tackles because Noah Fant kept tiptoeing down the sideline and turned it into a 50-yard touchdown. And Devin Witherspoon as well gets a pick six, but the pick six was thrown directly to him, right? So all he had to do was catch the ball and then run the length of the field. Now, he does get a little bit of extra credit for actually making that return, running the length of the field. He had to make a cut to make sure that he wouldn't get chased down from behind. So the pick six, the fact that he scored, the fact that he did execute that return and get it into the end zone, gives him a little bit of a bump in grade, but he doesn't get a boost. It doesn't get graded as an incredible play in coverage from an interception standpoint because it is thrown directly to him. So there's always in our grading, there's nuance between, when a play was qualitatively very good versus when he just got kind of lucky and the result of the play is very good.
Sam, I have to shout my guy, John Costco out. I appreciate him. He's always, he works for PFF, and he talks about some of the grading. And I was laughing. He was like, yeah, I got Air Force tape to do. I said, you're grading Air Force? Like, you guys do an extensive college program as well. Like, they're grading college plays, too. So that's crazy to have that much bandwidth. Yeah. But this question actually comes from Steve Becker. He says, does the same analyst grade the same players every week or the same teams every week? Or do you kind of mix it up so everybody kind of touches and keeps it, copacetic, I guess?
Yeah, it's mixed up. Number one, because it's broken down into those specific processes, right? So you're not simply grading, one side of the ball the whole way, or even one team the whole way, one unit. You are grading pass rushing versus pass protection or whatever it is. So it does get mixed up. And the other thing it does is it helps prevent those kind of accidental biases that could creep in. Not necessarily because a guy is a raging Browns fan or whatever, right? But because one guy might have a slight tendency to lean in a certain direction on these specific plays. But if you're mixing that all up and everybody is kind of cross grading various things, you're not skewing any one data set by one guy being slightly off, that straight and narrow path of what the optimal grading is. And that is a potential, that's a challenge, right? Is how you keep that large a number of people all on the same page when it comes to grading these things. Well, one of the ways to offset that is to try and mix it in and to try and cross grade as much as humanly possible so that all those potential frayed edges or extremes get pulled back together to the center.
Sam, last thing, how much are Deshaun Watson and DTR, I guess, combined, based on his game last week, to blame for the sacks that the Browns have given up in comparison to other teams? Are they, what end of the scale are they at?
I don't think. The scale is being extended this season. Aside from anything else, Sam Howell is sort of setting new depths of the extreme that can go to. That guy is a walking sack magnet. Deshaun Watson has always been a quarterback that takes a lot of sacks, and by taking a lot of sacks, I mean ones that he is sort of responsible for. More than just is involved in an offense that gets sacked a lot. So they've been responsible for a couple of them each, and obviously for DTR that's a higher percentage or a higher rate than Deshaun Watson because of playing time. But I think they've been they've been sacked at times when it hasn't been their fault. So they're not, at that Sam Howell end of the spectrum where they are making this thing look an awful lot worse than it's been and are taking tons of sacks that aren't on the offensive line at all. They're contributing to it a little bit, and as I say, Watson will skew in that direction. But if anything, I think it's more that fuzzy area between the two, right, where you're not charging them for the pressure necessarily. It's not their fault, but they both hold onto the ball longer than most quarterbacks. They're both going to make the blocking job of the offensive line more difficult because they simply have to pass protect for longer. The ball's not coming out in 2.3 seconds every single play. It's coming out in 3 seconds every single play, more or less. And that, I think, is the biggest area where they're contributing to the sacks. They're just sort of increasing the difficulty rating that these offensive linemen have to work with.
Sam, great insight, man. We appreciate you taking the time.
I've got another hour's worth of questions, but I know we don't have the time.
Thanks, Sam.
Sam, great stuff. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll get you back on later in the season.
Anytime. Take it easy, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Very insightful. The one thing that I think I take from all of that is when we're critical of guys, we're probably remembering 4 or 5 plays.
100%.
They're looking at every single play.
Yes.
I mean, it is the best metric we have.
Yeah. Nothing's a perfect. Even he's admitting it's not perfect.
Sure.
But it's
the one thing we didn't get to that I wanted to, of his staff of 70,
Yeah.
what's the average background? Are 40% of these guys former players, former coaches, scouts?
I think Collinsworth backing PFF gave them a lot of credibility.
Well, I think 100%.
Yeah.
It gave them the cachet they needed when they were early on.
Yes.
And now they're up and
I
running.
actually kind of have your answer to that, Jay.
Oh, good.
So I don't know exactly the percentage.
Right.
But the 70 people he was just referencing are the trackers. They actually have a set number of analysts who come in, and once it's all sorted, the analyst goes over and gives out the grades. So I think that 70 tracking staff he talked about were simply the people who down and distance, what the play is, what said player did, and then the analyst goes back afterwards. So it's like watching the condensed version. So not every analyst is watching the game 30 times over.
I know Bruce Gradkowski obviously played some.
Yes,
PFF.
sure.
John Costco played at Kansas.
Why they don't let me go?
Why don't you try it? I was just going to ask you that.
Give me that job.
I think you could. Listen, your knowledge, defensive backfield, you'd be great.
Sam, I'm available.
The top guy there, Steve Palazzolo, was actually a minor league baseball player.
Oh, that's
I would have told. This like Living Color. Listen, bro.
Living Color.
I know you
do
Jamaican.
what you want to
But
do.
This guy.
In Living Color.
I got to get some super chats in, guys. So real quick before we wrap up here, let me read some super chats. And as always, super chats are brought to us by PCC Airfoils. If you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We got a
Tyvus, you're always looking for another job.
He stay on
You got
hustle.
8.
He got 10 jobs.
I'm looking for the full.
Mike's got to get a super chats in. Go ahead, Mike.
First one comes from Evan419. He said Kevin woke up thinking Deshaun was playing, but it's his fault he didn't have DTR ready in 3 hours. Come on, G, you're better than that. Vernell Jackson says, would y'all have been happy with Deshaun starting and leaving the game after one series, or get sacked and be hurt way worse? Either way, DTR plays. It was bad coaching.
I was happy with the decision. I wasn't happy with the way it was
I don't
handled over to the public.
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
care
look,
if he
I don't blame Deshaun Watson for not playing. If he says he can't play, then he can't play.
None of us criticized Watson.
No, and there is zero criticism of Deshaun Watson.
Baker
what
would
you
have played.
don't want to be is the team that tells a player to go out there when the player says, I don't think I should be out there.
They did that. They told AB that.
I know they did. It's been done a lot. It's been done a lot in the NFL.
And don't let him get Kawhi Leonard. You made me play. I don't like that. Get me out of here.
What a tough life Kawhi Leonard has.
Simple said Stefanski dropping this after Watson telling teammates all week could divide the locker room.
That's my fear.
Could be nothing, but seems like there's something to it.
Stefanski might be gone at the end of the year. They came down to the coach and
they can't get rid of the quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. So
that's right.
Morgan K sent us 2. Does anybody remember Galindo Lindy Infante?
I do. Yeah.
Never heard of him.
He took us to the 1987 AFC
Lindy
Championship.
Infante.
Rakistan says.
Why'd you say Galindo?
Yeah, I didn't understand what the part was in front of that. His name was Lindy Infante.
He's just reading the super
I
chat.
think he came from the
reading the super chat.
Packers to the
Okay.
Browns. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't get that.
It says Galindo.
I don't know about
Typo.
G-E-L-I-N-D-O.
I don't.
G-I-N-D-O, G-I-N-D-O.
Two more real quick. Rakisan says, you're wrong, Bull. If you take the two best players off any offense, it's an L all around.
Thank you.
And then Charles T says, I'm here to help Petty LeBeau. The last time a good team with a great running back won the Super Bowl was Marshawn Lynch in 2013, and he rushed for 37 yards. Jamal Lewis, best season in 2001. He rushed for 125 yards. Terrell Davis in 97 won MVP.
Man,
that's it.
I wish we would have got to that earlier. I did a lot of research yesterday on this whole notion that you can't be good
Jay went to the
can't be good what?
running the football. Like the super.
I don't think we'll see a team. We haven't seen a team be a run-first team win a championship in a while.
Who are the best two teams this year? And I know it's small sample, but who are the best two teams?
Probably.
There's two undefeateds.
Okay, well, you asked me a question.
There's three.
Okay.
No, it's two.
I would say
Eagles and
probably
San
the
Fran.
Eagles
San
and the
Francisco.
49ers are the
Okay.
two best teams.
Right now,
Yeah.
the Philadelphia Eagles have the number 2 rush offense.
Okay.
San Francisco has the number 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all,
Who's number one?
I like
the
that.
Eagles is misleading
Miami.
to some degree because they have Jalen Hurts.
Well, I mean, if you look at the NFL right now, and I
Yeah.
know it's way too early. I want to
Yeah.
revisit these numbers at year's end.
Yeah.
But right now, the teams that I wrote down that were the best this year, in my view, it's certainly objective: Philly, San Francisco, Dallas, Buffalo, Kansas City, Miami. Those teams rank 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, and 1. They're all top 10 rushing teams.
Hey, way to go!
Okay,
way to get your boys back, man.
Well,
That's what I'm
okay,
talking
I
about,
have
Jay.
10 years. I have the last decade of data. You got 4 games. this
No,
year.
I actually went back the last decade. Do you want those numbers?
You have to wait till overtime to get them.
Excel
You're going to be shocked.
Woo!